I appreciate it. So tonight is the 24th of February. We're opening our board meeting at 5 o'clock. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, President Seda.
Here.
Trustee Moss. Here. Trustee Ferrucci.
Here.
Trustee Maselli.
Here.
And Trustee Grubbs.
Here.
Thank you.
I just want to remind everybody that this meeting is recorded for live streaming and archiving on our district YouTube channel. I am making feedback here. Let's see. Oh, thank you. Eyes are watering. Sorry, allergies. You're still getting feedback? How's it sound back there? You guys can all hear me okay? Okay. So we did our roll call, did that. So do I have an approval of the agenda as written?
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented tonight.
And I'll second it.
Thank you. Can we get a roll call, please? Mrs. Martinez?
Yes, President Seda.
Yes.
Trustee Moss. Yes. Trustee Ferrucci.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Grubbs.
Yes. If you'd please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you for the Kleenex. Okay, we're on to our reports. Dr. Young, do you have anything to share?
I do not this evening, no.
Thank you. Do any of my colleagues have anything to share regarding board reports today? No?
I was wondering, I was looking up, we had a lot of discussion last week from the audience about just unilaterally suspending the mask mandate and
Yes.
getting rid of that. And I looked it up. It seems to me, from my reading, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, that a mandate and a law are effectively the same thing. The only difference is how they're initiated.
Mark, can I ask you that we bring this up when we're discussing that? Is that?
Oh, my bad. Yeah, no worries.
Okay. So everything
good.
else related to.
My bad. I didn't mean to mess up.
No, that's okay. I just think it would be a good point at that
It's
point.
all good.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's see. Reminding you all that we don't have any members of the public speaking on anything except the mask mandate, which will happen when we get to the mask mandate portion. So, and I'll remind you again about, we have a bell that we use to let you know if your 3 minutes are up, that it's also on clocks on both of the screens to help guide you so that you're not rushing at the very end. And that's it. So BUSD has moved to in-person board meetings. We ask that members of the public who wish to attend, including those who wish to address the board, wear a mask over their nose and mouth at all times. All functions of the board meeting, including public comments, will take place in person. Members of the public may address the board at a regular meeting on any item within the board's jurisdiction. Thank you.
Mr. Miller would like to speak to this next item first. He's going to speak to both.
Okay. Speaker cards are available at the entrance table. Please note the item you wish to speak and submit a card to the board secretary. The board president will call all the open session general comments during the public comment item. Comments for items on the agenda will be called during a specific item. Comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker, or the board may limit the total time to 20 minutes per item with the timer displayed on the monitors. By law, no action may be taken on any item raised during the public comment periods, and matters may be referred to staff for placement on a future agenda of the governing board. And we just want to remind you that sometimes students are watching and we want to keep everything as respectful as possible. And I appreciate that. Thank you. So we do have one public comment that is not related to masks, Mr. Miller? It is related? Okay, please.
This is about my name is Andrew Miller. This is about the hiring to replace Dr. Young. Okay, I just wanted to say that I think that we should hire somebody from the community with children in the school, if that's a criterion that you could put on there, as I would like them to be, involved in the community. And if you got kids, even better, grandkids, something like that. That's just my 2 cents. And the reason I want to say that is because the hiring practices that you're using right now, you're breaking the law, the 1964 Civil Rights Act, with your hiring practices that you're doing now. Please don't do that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, we're going to go on to item number 8. It's development of materials and timeline for the BUSD superintendent search. And I want to introduce, excuse me. I only had one pulled. What's your name? That's fine. We can fix it. No worries. Casey, what's your last name? Wagner? Wagner. Okay, if you please come up.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Young. Our next superintendent will hold a very important role in our district for our community. When candidates have been narrowed down, I would like to request that town hall style meetings be held for each candidate who is being considered. One meeting for our community of parents and students to be able to come and have a question and answer time with the candidate in an open forum style of meeting. And the second one for the district staff to come and do the same. After these meetings, it would be great if the community and district staff could supply feedback in a way that is organized by the board to be considered in the decision-making process. I'm also curious if any internal candidates have expressed interest in this position and if they were considered before hiring the third party. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Just writing notes, sorry. Okay. So at this time, I would like to invite Bob Ferguson to the podium, who is going to talk to us a little bit about our next steps moving forward in the hiring process. Bob is with Ferguson, McPherson, and McPherson.
I just got elevated. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, you're up, sir.
Thank you very much, and good evening. I just want to let the community know that tonight the board is going to give us input, and there'll be many opportunities for community members to give input to in the same questions we're talking about. I think so. Okay, so I'll repeat that you'll have plenty of opportunity to give input either in person or online. So tonight is the board's opportunity, but you will definitely be given chances, many chances, to do the same thing. You have received in front of you sort of an overview of the timeline, suggested timeline for this process. And thanks to Jordana, she sent you some copies of other districts' qualifications. And you also got a copy of the last brochure that you did, I think 7 years ago for Benicia. Gives you an idea what we're trying to do.
Bob, is this Benicia's timeline or is this a sample timeline?
The timeline is going to be Benicia's timeline. The one in front of you where it says
It says Davis, that's why I'm
Davis at the
asking.
top.
suggested timeline.
Just
Okay, yeah.
a minute.
That's the one.
This one right here,
Yeah,
correct?
correct.
Who didn't get the copy of this?
I don't have that.
Oh, I have it.
Okay, Diane, guess somebody?
That's
It
right
says
there.
Davis.
Yeah, but it's.
It's this one. Yes, there's an error on it. But it's this one. Can somebody make a copy for the rest of our board? Thank you.
I think we
has
have
that.
it.
Oh,
What I'm questioning is the fact that it says for Davis Joint Union,
this
not
ours?
Benicia. That's why I'm asking.
Oh,
Is this ours or is this a
No, that's,
sample?
I'm sorry, that's a typo of another form.
Okay.
I apologize for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you have this on a presentation?
No, because there's going to be a lot of give and take. You're going to be putting things, you're giving things to me.
in the future, if we could ask that it kind of be done like that so that our members of the public can
Sure.
see that, and members at home can see that, that would be
Sure.
ideal
Be
to
happy
have
to.
a professional,
No problem.
thank you.
The big thing tonight we're trying to do is I'm going to ask you, the board, to give us characteristics, background, and experiences you want to see in your new superintendent. The reason that's important is that we can't start the search until this pamphlet is done. And so thanks to Jordina, she's also filling us some other issues too, some other forms that we're trying to do. If we can get this done tonight, some timelines, we'll be off and running. So with that in mind, I'd like to sort of have the board set open forum to give some ideas down, and Nicole's going to take notes. And what I'll do is I'll take it all together, compile it, bring it back to your board president for review. And it's just what you want to see in your new superintendent in terms of background, experience, out of state, in-state, teaching experience, qualifications, everything, sort of the perfect person that you could bring here as superintendent. So,
I think it's really good to have the last searches brochure so that we can kind of play off of that and make any additions or take anything out that we don't feel is a necessary component. I don't know, I think we all kind of are glad to have that piece of information.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really going to help guide us quite a bit. We've been successful in the past, so we can be successful in the future. So so you want to make it open forum? And
open
just
forum
have,
for you to sort of tell us what you think you'd like to see in your new superintendent.
okay, I'm going to open it up to you guys.
Yeah, I'll start. So I would like to see someone who or have candidates who have a strong curriculum background, and then also who've, candidates who've worked in a diverse communities as well. Someone who has, I know it takes years of experience sometimes to, sometimes when you work in different school systems and things like that. But I also wanted a candidate who's maybe been active with, in their different, so like the California School Board Association, just having those kind of relationships with the different entities within our school system. Maybe they've served on, different committees and things like that. I'd like to know like what kind of activities they've done outside of their educational setting, so to speak, just so that, we can have people who are comfortable with talking to everyone and having conversations with everyone. So, I mean, that's a start. I'll think of some more things as we continue the discussion.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd like to dovetail off of Yosemite, because one of the things that you said that I thought was really important, and I think in this day and age is extremely important, is someone who is a really strong communicator, irregardless of the group that they are talking to, whether it be our parents, whether it be our staff, whether it be us, our community, because we are a small community and we're all very much intertwined together. So it has to be someone who is a good speaker and someone who also is a good writer. It's very difficult when written communication goes out and people are saying, what do they mean? What do they mean? What are they talking about? So I think those skills are extremely important. Another thing that I think is really important for me is someone who has a variety of experiences within the educational world, not just someone who has I've been in this department forever and I have no understanding of how the other departments work and or what their needs or how they impact the school community, because it's such an interplay when we are working within the district to know how to bring all of those parts and all of those departments together. It's kind of like creating a fine orchestra and a fine symphony. You need to know how all those pieces come together and make a strong performance. And that's really what we need, that we know will benefit our kids, our school, and our staff.
Right, and then just to kind of add to that too, I want to know what types of relationships they have within the communities that they're serving. So how have they really orchestrated conversations, bringing the community together? How have they really addressed dealing with their stakeholders, or at least having like a two-way conversation, communication with folks?
I'm glad you brought that up, because what we're going to do, this format you're doing right now, we ask the candidates to respond to exactly what you say in there. So if you ask that question, part of their letter has to include that. It's not going to be a format letter like they would send in 7 different districts. It has to be totally focused on Benicia.
I'd like to really dovetail off of what my colleagues have said here. I think it's really important that we have someone that is open and transparent, doesn't push things under the rug, someone who is very responsive responsive to parents, responsive to teachers, responsive to staff, responsive to the community in a very upfront, direct, and honest way. And I think that that's something that we're all talking about. And also someone who has a wealth of experiences outside of maybe our district, and that has been in the classroom, dealt with kids more recently than not.
Can I follow up? Do you want this person to have teaching experience in the classroom experience?
Yes,
Oh,
sooner
yeah.
rather,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
sooner rather than later.
We'll make
too.
that the necessary.
Absolutely.
Please.
You know, I think another thing that's coming up, and I think we've kind of learned it over the last 22 months, and I'm going to start by saying, Charles, I think you've done a phenomenal job, but the truth of the matter is none of us had any crisis management training, and our superintendent was learning as we went. And I think now in this day and age, as we look at now and maybe forward, someone who has somewhere, some way been able to be exposed to some type of crisis responsibilities so that they know in fact what's going on with everyone. It's not just us, it's going on in the community, it's going on in your schools, and maybe
And it's proactive, right?
and being
Yeah.
proactive. And that's
Proactive.
kind of where I was going. Thank you, Cece.
Sorry.
No, that's
Interrupt.
good. I mean, that's kind of what I want to say. Someone that can do that, because I think in this day and age, times are changing,
Yes,
Absolutely.
they are.
and we need to support that person in that way.
And can I just, I want to piggyback off of that too, is that times are changing. Education is changing. Our, the traditional educational paradigms have changed within the pandemic. Not that that's a bad thing at all. I think some of it can be a very good thing. But someone who is forward thinking, who is open to new ideas, and who can express those ideas, respond to those ideas, and really listen.
Listening is a key issue, you're right.
It is really a key issue.
And it's probably just along the lines of really being able to build relationships. So that's so important. It's really important.
I think a lot of too, and I shared this with one of my colleagues before, the flyer and I think the qualities that we put out on the last packet flyer actually are they're very applicable today. I was impressed when I was reading it today to say, wow, we really did a great job with this flyer. So
And
I
you-
was
and you were
thinking
part of the
that you
board.
guys really did a good job with that flyer.
I mean, we really didn't, but my concern and my question and my caution is going to be, I want to know if when we talk to students, when we talk to teachers, when we talk to our parents and our community, if this still falls into line for them. But because I do think we've actually identified a lot of very important qualities.
Oh, yeah.
And and communication is here, honesty is here, integrity is here, diversity is here, openness and transparency are here. So I want to see we're still aligning. And if we're not,
Yeah.
what we need to talk about. And what
If
we-
I could just respond to that for a second and
Please.
bring up a really good point. When we get into our stakeholder interviews and talks and everything, one of the questions we're asking, in fact, the fourth question is, what characteristics, background do you want to see? It's the same question I'm asking you. And everything that comes to us, whether it's in a one-on-one, a one-on group, or whether it's through the online survey, gets put into that booklet, which will tell you exactly what the community is saying. And they may align with exactly what you are talking about, or there may be some things that are different that you go, wow, that's a good idea.
Right.
So I can use that as part of the interview and question process when you do the candidates.
And how do you vet that?
How
How do you vet the candidates?
Oh,
How do you vet them and ensure that it's not just talk?
that's
It's-
a good point. One of the things we're going to offer you later on is whether you want a video interview of each candidate, about a 3-minute interview. What we do is we do probably a good 30 days worth of vetting of each individual candidate to find out, we don't want somebody who just walks the talk.
Right.
And by talking to people, unions, teachers, colleagues, other superintendents, county superintendents, parents, students, we can get a pretty good indication of if this person is really honest, online, and authentic, or if he or she is just trying to do, I mean, quite frankly, most anybody can come into an interview for an hour or so and do a great song and dance.
Mhm.
And they can
Right.
tell you things that make them look like they're great. That's why, well, in the interview, prior to interview, you will have a time and information to see everything we put down, all the things that look great, and all the questions. Because in that interview, we want to make sure that what they say matches who they are. We don't want somebody who comes in here with a song and dance and you go, wow, this person's super. I say, well, there's some concerns here, and you'll know that ahead of time.
Mhm.
So does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay, good.
I'd actually like to, will you be supplying some, when you're talking to other stakeholders about this person that you're thinking about bringing forward to our board? I'd like to see some of those responses to those questions. Will you be supplying that?
You will have a packet of everything that's said by everybody.
Right.
Every comment made, either in meetings or online, you'll get that. And one of the things there is to get that date for that, but you'll have it prior to the interview process.
Thank you.
Any other characteristics, background, experiences? A couple of things I might want to ask is, do you want bilingual? Is that strongly preferred, necessary?
I think it would be something that would be a benefit to have.
Okay.
Would I say it would be a deal breaker? I'm not sure, as long as they have bilingual support.
Okay.
But I think that would be something in our increasing community that it's something we shouldn't ignore.
And in other searches, the word transparency comes up a lot. They want somebody who's authentic, and transparency are two sort of caveats that they talk about. They want somebody that's
Right.
authentic and transparency, and not somebody that's going to, hold something close to his or her chest, but share with things. Would that be okay to put in that list too?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I think I asked that one.
Mhm.
I
Right,
did,
you
I
did.
did say
Okay,
that.
I'm sorry.
Well, and I think what also is real clear, and if you guys look under qualifications, the last bullet, I mean, if we take aside, if we could put COVID away for 22 months, the truth of the matter is we have a very good district. We have a great staff. We have incredible children. There is a lot of parent support in our community for our schools.
Yep.
Not to mention that our community is supportive of our schools. So I think with that said, is it's really, as someone coming in as a potential leader of this district, I want someone who's going to be thinking about that and how to continue to build on it and make it better and make it more welcoming for everyone. I mean, I think that's got to be, this isn't a district that's broken, that's got to start, and
No.
this is a very solid district. It's a very successful district. As I said, get away from COVID.
Yeah.
And we've all had the COVID, we're all having the
Right.
COVID struggles. But prior to COVID, I think we were a pretty incredible district, and I
Yeah.
want someone who could take us
Next step.
to the next level.
One of the really good things about this district is this is an easy district to recruit for. Your reputation speaks for
Mhm.
itself. The location speaks for itself.
Right.
What you've done with the program speaks for itself. So, and I've already been talking to people. It's not advertised yet. When I talked to people, and I was in a meeting with 4 or 5 superintendents, and when I told them that was open, a couple of them were very interested right away. Boom, right, just like that.
Mhm.
So it's going to be, you're going to have a lot of top candidates coming in. As I said before in my presentation earlier, or last week, my job is to make this tough on you. I want to bring you 4, 5, or 6 really top candidates and have you struggle to see which one is the best fit for you.
Well, I'd rather we were struggling to spread that person than you trying to find them.
Can I ask one question? Somebody mentioned about out-of-state candidates. Let me tell you the concern with out-of-state candidates, and we have had very few people, boards, want to go out of state for really 4 reasons. One, the cost of living is a shock, and they may be a super candidate living in Maryland or Arizona, and they're really excited, and I tell them the cost of living, and I make sure they do their research, because I had one person come that really didn't do the research. It was a St. Helena. And when they saw the projects in Napa Valley, they actually cried, literally cried. And I tried to make them understand this is a great place to live, but you pay the cost. Second issue that comes in is the ed code. California's ed code is about this thick. Other districts, states are about this thick. Third issue would be we have some very strong, very good teacher unions that some states don't have, quite frankly. And some superintendents get frustrated because they can't do what they want to do. And the union says, excuse me, time out, let's talk about this. And the last item that is a concern is the Brown Act. California has a Brown Act. Other states don't have the Brown Act. And they're sort of frustrated by the fact that they can't do things behind the scenes. And we want them not to do that, obviously. So there's 4 reasons why people might not, and some have come in. There have been some people that come in. I would say probably in California we've had, I'm just guessing, Nicole, I'm not sure if you even know, probably 20 people in the last 8 or 9 years that have come from outside of state, and most have not been successful because of those issues. But we can do that. If you want to do it, we will do it.
Well, I think before we say no, let's consider something. Some people, a lot of people these days and age are mobile. They're moving for a variety of reasons. They're in the state, they're moving out of the state, they're coming back into the state or trying to. I don't think we should technically close the door, but I don't think it's something that would be a priority.
Okay. With your permission, we'll keep the door open. And if somebody comes and is really just a superstar, we'll bring that to you'll see every single application anyway. So if somebody comes in that just sort of, wow, let's look at this person, we'll do that.
Are you guys okay with that?
Well, I'm okay with that, but I just wanted you to know that there's going to be an additional fee for out-of-state advertising. So if everybody's okay with what that fee will be, then we can keep that on the table. If not, then we can.
The fee's about $600. And I'm glad, that's a great segue, thank you. And when we do the advertising in California, we usually use 2 sources, and all this, again, is already involved and included in our fee. The 2 sources we use are EdCal, both printed and online, and EdJoin, both printed and online.
Right.
And that brings in probably, and then the McPherson and Jacobson has a website that has about 4,000 to 6,000 hits per month. So those 3 are really going to bring people in.
And that would make it available to people out of state.
Absolutely.
Without having to go to that extra step.
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that's a thought.
So I would suggest you don't invest the money in Education Week. You're still going to get the exposure. And we'll still have the chance to look through the criteria to see if it matches what you're going to end up putting down tonight.
Okay.
Any other, I'm
Thanks, Sherry.
going
That
to take
was
Diane's
helpful.
lead and also look at the current list that you have with the current brochure and make sure everything that you think, I'll put together a packet, give it to your board president, I'll script it tonight or tomorrow, and we'll have it ready to go.
And then will we have to do anything differently so that we want to consider, say, internal and external candidates, right? It'll just be a
This is
straight
open to
search.
everybody.
Okay,
And with internal candidates, I need to speak with them individually, because the mistake most internal candidates make, they think you as a board know them. And they make the assumption they know who you are. And sometimes we say, I want you to treat this as if you're brand new. And we treat internal, external candidates the same way, everything the same way.
So with that said, to jump on Gethsemane, if our internal candidates are applying, which I suspect we will have some, I want to be sure that they have the same opportunities as somebody coming from out of the district.
So we treat exactly the
So
same.
if there's a candidate forum, if there's a candidate greeting, whatever it is, our internal candidates need to have the same opportunities.
Absolutely.
So
Guaranteed.
that's very important to me that
Understand.
happens this time.
Guaranteed. And when I talked to Dr. Young a couple of days ago, I'm not sure when, and asked him for any internal candidates to please have me talk with them so I could have the conversation regarding what I just told you.
Okay.
Anything else you want to put in here?
Yeah, in terms of I'm just kind of going back to the advertising thing. So if we think about folks, say if we have people in our community who are qualified, or within the Solano County region, will there be any Will there be a difference in terms of how we
No.
reach them, or will it just be in
Everybody
general?
is treated exactly the
Okay.
same.
Okay.
Inside, outside, internal, external, next door neighbor, Southern California, or in Minnesota.
Okay, so one more thing about your packet. You're going to be wordsmithing this. And
Yes.
obviously, there's data in the packet, which I know the community can't see it out there, but things about our community, you have to update from the newest consensus and all that stuff. So we know that has to change. Our budget has to change. That was a nice old budget. But aside from the characteristics, like we're saying these qualifications are great, but we're emphasizing a few other ones, I think, tonight. But before this goes to final print, we will have the opportunity to have all of our stakeholders give us input to see if there's some other areas that
No.
we need to add and or change.
We can't do that because of the timing. So we will get their input, and you'll have a chance to have that input, which may be different or the same as you have. But this packet in front of you, we can't start advertising until it's done. And the stakeholders, I'm going to talk about in a second, probably start that in a couple of weeks, and we'll probably have as many meetings as you want, and we have the online survey. I did a district where they had 722 online surveys. The reason online surveys are better is that some people feel more comfortable putting in information by themselves and nobody looking at them, and they're a lot more honest sometimes than in a group. So we'll have both, and with your permission, if I'll go ahead and draft this up, and again, to answer your question, the format when it's done, which will be probably the first part of next week, we'll give to you, have you look at it, make sure it's okay, because that's when that goes back to the home office, that's when we can start the switch and start the process.
Okay, and then I have, go ahead. No, go.
Well,
'Cause I'm
and this
talking.
is the teacher in me, so I just want to say that the blue on gold is very hard to read. I'd like that to be more readable. And also, Bob, I'm going to ask, when you come to us, maybe everything should be correct. There shouldn't be any errors in the documents, like this timeline. It's for Davis and
Yep.
and maybe just a little bit more professionalism. I would like to see.
I understand, and I'm not going to make an excuse for it. We had a major crisis in the family over the last 3 days. So
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
That's not an excuse.
Sorry.
So
I know life
that.
gets in the way. I do know.
Okay, just things happen.
Understand.
Let me switch, if I could, to the issue of stakeholder, because that's a big deal.
Right.
We want to get as much input as possible from the community. So I'm going to be asking you, and I'll be talking to your board president, for a list of groups that I need to talk with and listen to. Individuals, we want to involve students, parents, union, community members, classified staff, administrative staff here, everybody. We don't, and I will do as many as it takes to do those meetings. I'll probably come over here and probably spend 3 or 4 full days and evenings. We often like to offer things in the afternoon for people and evening for those at work. We also offer the online survey, which has been very popular lately. So I'll be talking with you later about that in terms of identifying the groups, probably first part of next week, so I can begin that process and we can get them on the calendar and get that done.
Are those meetings with our stakeholders something that all 5 can attend, or is that a Brown Act
No,
issue?
it's if less than 2 or 2 or less come. The issue that is concerned, sometimes people in the community feel uncomfortable when there's a board member sitting there. They may not want to say things they want to say. That's happened. That happened in Elk Grove. We had a board member that wanted to be at every single meeting, and there was some concern in the community with that particular board member, and it sort of stopped discussion.
I just think it's
It's
important.
totally up to you.
I think it's important for us to hear our stakeholders.
Yeah.
And if we're not present,
You will get the report, so you'll hear everything in
well,
written form.
I want to hear them.
You can. It's up,
You know.
totally up to you.
And then my concern, I want to make sure that we involve all of our student groups. And so I know sometimes we rely, a lot of times being an educator, a lot of times the student leadership team is the only people that are contacted.
Yep.
So I want to make sure all the students have an opportunity. So how would that communication go? Like when we identify, it could be clubs or whatever, but how is that communication going to go from you, say, to get to the students, and then maybe, I don't know if you all have ideas from the last
I'd probably
time.
talk with the site principal. When I did the WASC accreditation, I would make a trip out to the parking lot in high school and talk to the kids in the parking lot, which are a little bit different sometimes than your student body kids. So we will make sure we cover the whole range of students. And I would probably talk with the site administrator to ensure we have some of the people that have really some concerns, some negative issues. Again, we want everybody's opinion, whether it's positive or negative or just unknown. Okay, can I move on? Is that okay? Of course. Okay, and we're getting down and going pretty good here. Again, you're going to be offered a video. One of the issues that you as a board have to determine is whether or not you want one of the committee members mentioned it, a community forum. By that I mean is that we have members, you pick about 8 to 10 people who represent the community, and on the day you interview as a board, in the morning, they interview as a team. They don't rank order. You make the decision of who you hire. What we ask them for is what they say is strengths and concerns. Give it to you prior to your deliberation. We want to give you as many touch points as possible to help you deliberate. Now, so that's a choice you need to make. If you want to do it, we'll do it. If you don't want to do it, we won't do it. One of the other issues we mentioned too, again, to think about, is whether you want that social interaction I mentioned briefly before, where we set up, let's say we do 2 candidates a day. Let's say we have 4 candidates, we do 2 days of meetings. We set up a breakfast with 2 board members and a candidate, 2 separate venues, so you have 4 board members talking to 2 candidates. We have a coffee set up, and usually the board president or somebody meets one-on-one with them. Then at lunch, we switch it around, 2 board members with the other candidates. So by the time you interview in the afternoon, you as a board have talked to all 2 candidates that are there that day. They have a chance to talk to you. The good thing about this, it gives a much more open and honest and interaction with the interview process. The negatives, there's a little cost to it. We have 4 breakfasts, 4 lunches, and 2
We're
coffees.
okay with that cost.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll do that.
I will just share with my colleagues, having been through that process, that was an amazing opportunity to hear who was really willing to be invested in the community. And it was really pretty much the conversation we had, the questions they asked, the types of things that were going on. It was like, okay, this wasn't going to be just another job where they can move on for a while. This was really an opportunity to say, this is our town, and it needs to become your town. And we need you to become part of it. And that was a great chance to kind of vet that and to get that feel for that person.
We want somebody that's not using this as a stepping stone.
Exactly.
We want somebody that wants to come here, and this is a great place for families, great place for people. We want the person that comes here to also feel the same admiration. I told Charles the other day, my wife and I stopped by, is it Sailor's?
Sailor
We
Jack.
go there probably once every, we live in Napa with great restaurants, but I really like that restaurant. And up the street, there's that but nice Italian restaurant too. So we do that. So it's a great place.
Nope, we don't promote restaurants.
I'm going to go real quickly. I'm getting through this in good shape. I also in this sort of suggested timeline, put down the dates of April 6th or 7th as a possibility for the second board meeting. And that'd be a closed meeting, and that board meeting will develop questions that you want to ask the candidates. So I'm not sure what your date is, but at least give me a date that we can sort of do this.
We have a regular scheduled board meeting on the 7th, on my calendar at least.
We could do a closed session prior to that.
Well, that's right, you did say it was going to be, that part's going to be a closed
Because we're doing
session.
questions.
Right, we're already
But,
here.
but we can, but I also don't want to disallow what we already do in closed session also. I want to make sure we have enough time.
So we don't have much going in March.
In April.
Has suggested we have a lot going on in April, but not in March.
I'm sorry, did you say March or April?
I said April 6th or 7th.
Yeah.
Well, so maybe the question might be, how much time do you need? Because if we don't impact or interfere with our closed session time, which starts at 6, then we know if it's just an hour ahead of time and that's all you need.
It would be no more than an hour, and I would send to you questions used by other boards
Okay,
as examples, probably 30 or 40 questions for you to at least ruminate on. You decide what questions you want, but these are examples of other questions that boards have asked.
could we get them ahead of time to help
Oh,
us?
you'll get it a week ahead of time. Absolutely.
So we would start our closed session an hour earlier.
So at 5 for
Yeah,
closed session,
5.
so that we are available
7.
for Charles at 6.
So Georgina, you can arrange for all of that to happen for the boardroom. Thank you. And, well, April 7th at 5.
Great, thank you. Moving right along, we're down to 3 things I left. The week of April 12th, do you have a regular board meeting then?
No,
Or sometime in that time period? I want to come before the board and do really 2 things. Give an update to the community as to where we are in the status of the search, and also present to you the stakeholder survey, the book which you're going to get from all the input we've gotten. So somewhere in there, I'm not sure when you want to do it. When's your first board meeting in April?
7th.
the 7th.
That's
7th.
when you're going to be here.
I could do it the same night. It would be a short presentation. I simply would maybe a sort of a 5-minute overview to the community and to people on TV as to what the status is, where we are, and also give you an executive summary of the stakeholder input.
So you can do that in open session?
Yes, that'll be open session.
That's fine.
The 7th.
So agenda item, okay, thanks.
Great, great. I also put down the dates of April 25th, 26th, somewhere in there. And that's where we'll have the meeting to talk about the candidates that you want to interview. Again, we're going to bring you every single application. My suggestion is that during that day of that board meeting, I come here about noon or so and have scheduled meetings with 2 board members at a time to go over all these different applications, so that at the board meeting, you've done that already. You have a pretty good idea, and your discussion at the board meeting in terms of the closed board meeting is somewhat more concise in terms of whom you're looking at as a possible candidate.
We're back from spring break, right?
Yeah, the 25th, we're back from spring break.
Okay, so
It'd be a closed session.
The next one would be the 27th.
That's Wednesday, 28th would be.
I'm sorry, the
28th, yeah.
28th, sorry.
28th would work. Well, it's getting, again, it's getting, well,
So you have here the 25th, which we don't have a board meeting. We could.
Could it go to the
we
28th?
Make one.
it could. I'm trying to make it, because we're trying to interview the candidates on that April 30th, May 1st, and I'm going to need some time to get those questions formatted for you for that interview. So I might need to, we can do it. It's just going to be a little, we can do it. You know, whatever's, we'll make it
okay,
work.
so what date are we working with?
Well,
The board meetings are on April 7th and April 21st, but we can always make a special board
I think
meeting.
it's the 28th.
We don't have a
Not the
21st.
21st,
I don't
'cause it's
believe that's
vacation.
spring break.
Yeah, it's spring
Oh,
break.
sorry, okay. So I'm, apologies.
Right. No, that's fine. I'm just saying, we
Thank
only
you.
have one board meeting in April because of spring break.
Could we meet earlier that week? We've done it before.
Yeah.
I mean, if you need a few days, the 25th, no, I mean, like that Monday. the
28th
25th.
or the 25th?
Yeah, or the 26th. I mean, I get it. If you need that kind of time.
It would be a closed session, and it might, depending on how the board discusses things, there might be some concerns. Again, if we meet that day with board members, I think the discussion might be more focused in the evening. So I would say hour and 15 minutes ballpark.
I could do that.
The date,
25th. Monday.
25th,
Monday,
Monday.
the 25th.
Yeah.
Can we do it, I know, Mark, you can get home by what time?
School's out at 3:30. I could be home by 4.
So if we call it for 4:30?
4:30?
4:30? Just want to let everybody not be here all night every night, you know.
We could do 4:30 to 6 with the hope that we can get out earlier,
Yeah, that'll work.
if that works for you.
The 25th. And that's where,
Yeah.
closed session.
That's closed session.
Us, and that's where you're going to share with us the,
I will be there that day, and I may have to meet with you separately, or we can go over the phones, because you're going to be coming from some work that day.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that every board member gets a chance to have that discussion. I'm looking to, and you will get a copy electronically of some of those items. So it might be good, Mark, maybe on your break, we could talk, and I just want to make sure you have a chance to ask me questions about the different candidates prior to the meeting. We'll make it work.
we think by April, the end of April, we're going to have the candidates in mind.
Yeah, the search closes on April 11th. And then from April 11th up to the, what's that, 21st? And I'll start ahead of time, obviously. We'll do the vetting. So I'm not going to wait till the 11th when it closes. I'm going to start the application vetting as applications come in. So if I wait till then, I'm going to be in trouble. So the last item is, mhm.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay.
Thanks, Regina.
And the last item, again, this is your choice of when do you actually want to interview the candidates? A lot of districts want to do a Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday or a Monday, Friday. The reason being that if you have sitting superintendents, it's easier for them to leave their district on the weekend and interview. Assistant soups is much easier. So we could do, the Friday, Saturday, or you could do Saturday, Monday. The idea being, and I talked to your board president the other day, is that we would like very much to have you have the decision and be able to announce the new superintendent at your first board meeting in May. So if we do it, let's say a Friday, Saturday, and Saturday night you have this discussion, which may take some time, of who you want to offer the job to. You offer the job to them on Saturday night, let's say. Your attorney and his or her attorney review the contract. We start the FBI search. So that's done by probably Tuesday. So when you have the board meeting on that Thursday, you can introduce the new superintendent, who will begin work on July 1. And then my suggestion is we schedule some days that he or she comes to visit the district to talk with Dr. Young and to talk with different members of the district prior to his or her arrival on July 1. You guys did a great job. Good. A lot of stuff, a lot of information.
So did we decide what
Did we
days on that
decide when we're
weekend?
entering?
You didn't.
We didn't, okay.
I think Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, I mean, Friday, if it's in the evening.
It would be an all-day process because you'd have that breakfast. So maybe Saturday, Sunday would be a good time to do it,
Yeah.
if that's okay with everybody.
And tell me the time frame that we're.
Well, you would, let's say on Saturday, you would interview 2 candidates. You would be having breakfast with the candidates in the morning, probably 8:30 to 9:15, 9:30. If you do the community meeting will occur at some time for each candidate in the morning. You'll have the coffee with one of the candidates, and you'll have the lunch with the candidates, 2 of you with each candidate at lunch. So by about 1 o'clock, 1:15, that'll be done. Then we'll schedule the 2 interviews that day, probably at 2 o'clock and at 3:30, ballpark. So you be done by about 4:30, 4:45 on one day. The next day, a little longer because you'll be discussing who you want to offer the job to after the second day.
The 30th of April and the 1st of May, Saturday and Sunday.
It works for me, it works for you. We just ask you to please schedule all day. And you'll have some breaks, obviously, because you'll have a break between breakfast and lunch. But probably the board interviews would start about 2 o'clock in the afternoon for candidate 1, and probably 3:15, 3:30 for candidate 2 on that day. The next day, 2 more candidates. That's assuming you have 4. You may want to have more. You have to schedule a 3rd day in there. That's, again, it's entirely up to you. Most districts do about 4. I had one district that did 6. And then they had a real problem with how to decide the issue. So It's up to you. Again, I work for you. You tell me what to do.
Thank you. Did we cover?
You did
all?
a great job. You really did. I expected it to take a lot
We
longer.
got a good team.
And I'm glad you're probably happy that it didn't take very long either.
Bob, can I ask one more thing?
Ask anything.
For the characteristics
Mhm.
of a superintendent, flexibility,
Oh, that's a good one.
flexibility, please.
Nicole, is there anything you want to add?
Oh, I didn't even see Nicole.
sure.
Hi, Nicole.
You didn't see me? Oh,
I'm so sorry. I didn't know
why I
you
was
were
taking
there.
notes. Good evening, everybody. It was great to just listen to the dialogue. And what I think I would do if it's helpful is just to summarize what I heard to make sure before we leave, we have what you need. Is that all right? Okay, good. And so, again, really excited about the process. Again, this is the most important thing you will do as a board. You have only one employee. So this is important, and I appreciate the community being patient because this is a really important process. And so just want to summarize real quick. One, her public comments was really helpful, and I think more of those comments will be really captured in our stakeholder input session. So that's really powerful to hear. Also heard about what works best for you and your learning style with presentation, your visual folks. So you may want to see it on the screen versus just the packet. We do it a lot of different ways, just so you know. Sometimes we actually don't do presentation. We just give it to you and we give you samples. So it's always going to be kind of things we'll have to redo for you anyway. So we customize it for you. So just to kind of point that out, and hearing the professional piece is also, it's like a work session. I know sometimes that doesn't seem the same as a presentation, and sometimes community members don't recognize it, but it's a discussion. It's a kind of a messy process. It's herding cats with all your schedules. So you all did phenomenal. I just want to say that with the calendar. Great job. And so real quick, we are going to take your brochure you already have from your first process. And again, I remember being a part of that on that stakeholder interview. And so the feedback in terms of the brochure itself is kind of work from there. Think about the colors and make sure we can see it really well. Make sure it's all professionally kind of redone in terms of your demographics, the budget, certain information. And so I think connecting with you as board president, making sure we capture anything that needs to be changed so that it's relevant for today. So I want to make sure that's really clear. Anything that continues to create more attractiveness. So one thing we didn't talk about is you want to change any of the images. You want like photos of things you've captured in the last couple of years. Sometimes the student photos that you've gotten permission from your parents to post, you may want those. So let us know about that. Characteristics. So we're going to take what you shared based on what's in the brochure, but really kind of massage it so that it includes the following: strong curriculum background, worked in diverse communities, active in associations like an AXA or CSBA, has relationships or a network, and have served on various committees. Just basically someone's well-rounded, not just working only in the school district. Someone who's a strong communicator to all stakeholders, including written skills, able to understand the small community, kind of small town that Benicia consists of, a variety of experiences in education. So someone who understands the whole landscape of education, not just one particular aspect. Also someone who can bring all departments together. So really understanding the work of technology versus facilities versus the ed services, and everyone having a kind of a broad connection. Strong relationships with your current community, within their current community. So one thing to share about that is when we do that vetting and you get towards like that finalist space, you can ask us to do that visitation of their current community. So sometimes that helps us to know a little bit more about what that looks like in action. You're open and transparent communicator, upfront and honest, responsive to parents, staff, and community, has a wealth of experience outside of BUSD, crisis management experience, being proactive and responsive, open to new ideas, forward thinker, builds relationships, listens, builds upon the strong sense of community that already exists, while also helping everyone to feel welcome, and kind of takes it to the next level, I heard. And then lastly was being flexible. And so we can try to massage that into your current criteria and really build upon what we've heard from you here. Lastly, this is important to know, is the requirements and the preferences. So at the very bottom, we do want to make sure we're really clear. And I heard only about having classroom experience, and particularly recently if possible. So I want to make sure we clarify degrees. I think we talked about language, but I didn't hear that piece. I did want to ask follow up.
We didn't talk
Yeah.
about that.
Is there a preference for what people have?
Preferred master's degree, preferred PhD, EDD.
Yeah, I mean, I just
Desires?
assume those are criteria for superintendents,
No.
but,
Nope.
I mean, we never
you don't have
got
to
to
have
that piece here.
Yeah.
Education
And it's important to
background?
ask. Yeah,
Yeah.
so their education background, like if it's a preference, we can place that. But if it is not, and I'm just going to give you my opinion doing this work, I would not want to put people in a box. There are phenomenal leaders who don't have those fancy degrees, right? Although they're helpful, and there's maybe leverage points for some who have gotten those degrees because of the process. And we talked about when we talked earlier about having diverse candidates, you'll see that having a doctorate degree is a big deal because of just kind of the path to this job. But then there are folks who don't have it. And again, they're great leaders. It's not necessary. So my opinion is leave that off so you don't put people in a box.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Think that I wouldn't want to lose somebody because they didn't have a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's just important to have definitely that site experience. So yes,
Okay.
having been a classroom teacher,
Yep.
having been a site administrator is really important.
Okay.
I'm sure that the candidates probably will have had experience working at a district office, and even at a county office is fine, but just definitely having the experience is
Okay.
really
So we'll
really
put that
important.
down,
Yeah.
So at cabinet level. Yeah.
Cabinet level experience.
Well, and I
Yeah.
also, I do think that they need to have the appropriate certifications. I think a master's is obviously a given, because you wouldn't get that far without one. And, again, a doctorate is not the deal breaker, but I think it should be something that would be, if you're sorting, it would be of interest.
Okay.
I just don't.
Preferred would be, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just say,
Okay.
one-
And then not someone who just took a test and then now they're an administrator. Like I
Right,
have
exactly,
real,
exactly.
let me
Some
share
experience,
one
yeah.
interesting fact, which is
I do.
California, which is great.
Well, just took a test today, so tomorrow I could come out and do
Right,
this
No, but
right.
with
passing
no
the test,
experience. It's
that's
like,
a valid
no.
way to get your administrative.
Yes.
credential.
But then but it still goes to the site level, the site experience.
Right.
Because
Right,
that
you
goes
gotta
to-
have
Oh,
the-
I get what you're.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm saying that you've had that
Oh, no,
experience.
yeah, the experience.
But I'm not saying that somebody that had got their admin by testing
Right.
versus.
No.
taking a
What
bunch of
we're saying
classes.
is
No,
they
no.
need to have put that to
Yeah,
work with
I'm with you.
experience.
I'm with you.
Yes.
Remember before I
Okay,
mentioned
good.
that California was unique? California is very unique. There is no requirement to be a superintendent
Right,
in
I know.
California. None. No requirement at all. No education requirement, no background requirement,
Right.
no experience requirement.
Hmm.
Most states have some sort of documentation or credential. California, for whatever reason, there is no requirement for anything. You can be off the street and be a
So
superintendent.
I think,
Literally.
I think we basically said it's master's minimum,
Right.
teacher, admin,
You're putting in the parameters right now.
Right.
right,
It
We're-
takes
yeah.
more certification to be a principal than it does to be a superintendent.
Absolutely.
Wow.
crazy.
Wow.
So you
To
have
be a-
A lot
to be-
of,
to be a
well, a lot of
classified
times
aide.
those
Credential would
superintendents
be-
will come because they've done various superintendent academies as well. I mean, that is a piece that a lot of them will at least bring forward. Doesn't give you an extra degree or anything. It just says,
Yeah,
I've been through the training, so I kind of have an idea. Well, the other thing that's really big too from California is the idea of school boards like this.
Mhm.
Because I come from back east and we were part of the city. We're
Oh,
not
right,
we're
right.
not our own entity, so this is also unique for,
It's California.
right,
Okay.
We
it's
are
California, here we go.
Well,
unique.
thank you both so much
So,
for,
I didn't get to finish my last summary, just to make
Oh,
sure, because I want
I'm
to capture this
sorry.
before we get out of your way.
Absolutely.
Because this is it, yeah, this is it, we want to get you started. Okay, so just real quick, and make sure I heard, so teaching experience, site administrator, cabinet level experience, minimum masters. And
yes,
that's part of what we need to know, so that when we're vetting, we can just kind of sift people out from the beginning. Remember, you have criteria to show up in 5 bullet points,
uh-huh,
right? And remember, that will sift people out regardless of degrees.
okay.
Right, so you got to remember this is a little bit more than just you putting it in a brochure. The other piece, so just real quick, was your preferences. Bilingual would be preferred, but
It would
not
be nice.
required.
Not required,
Yeah.
We, as long as they have support, then it's
Yes.
okay.
And did you have a specific language? We didn't hear that.
Spanish?
Okay. just
I
wanna
would
make
say
sure.
Spanish, yes.
Yep. Some communities have different languages that they want to make sure, so appreciate that. And then last but not least is your stakeholder process, where you are going to again have your input by your stakeholder groups that will be identified with you later on. I didn't hear the names
Yeah.
of the groups, so I want to make
We'll
sure.
have to get back to you.
Alright,
We need a
perfect.
couple
I will
days.
send something to
Okay.
both Regina and you to
Okay.
some
And-
ideas.
Since you're bringing that up, I just want to clarify that Georgina and I are going to be tandem working, so anything that you need from either of us, send to both of us, and we'll keep each other on our email trail, and that way we're just all kind of in the same little web, so we see what's going on back and forth.
President Zeta, I do have the file from last search, so I have
Excellent.
stakeholder groups from last time that we.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you.
And we both want to again thank you for your time. You did an excellent job. Sometimes these take a little bit longer. You were very precise and to the point, and you gave us all information. And we'll get back to you probably by tomorrow with this format to look at.
And then I need to ask a clarifying question. So say we identify groups for the input. What happens if some of the members of the groups can't make it or whatever? Will they still have an opportunity to give their input? Because I just want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to give their
And
input.
again, remember,
Okay.
everybody has a chance for the online survey. But sometimes we come back, and again, we do afternoon and evening, so the people, if parents are working, they can come. We really go anywhere we need to go to get the input and talk with students and staff at the school site. We talk with district staff. We talk with classified staff, everybody.
So in the survey, will you have, would this, people who are taking the survey, is there, are there comments sections, or is it just multiple?
No, we asked 4 questions to everybody. Tell us something good about, we start off with a sort of the positive. Tell us something good about the Benicia community you live in. 2, tell us something good about the district of Benicia district. 3, tell us some things you think a new superintendent might want to know that are concerning or on the horizon or under the rug, things that you want to see addressed that have not been addressed to the degree you want, or things in the future. For instance, if you're a declining district, you have some financial issues in the future. And the 4th question, same question, whether it's online or here, is characteristics, background, you just went through that the different groups want to give to you from their point of view in terms of searching for a superintendent. Okay?
So
Thank
last
you.
but not least, because I
Oh,
want
one
to
more.
make sure you have your last thing is your calendar. Okay, because I want to make sure this is clear for the record. Is so you have April the 7th at 5 o'clock is your closed session, and then you'll also have your open session to come up with your talk about your stakeholder input report, and also go through your interview questions. I have April 11th as your application closing date. We have April 25th, 4:30 to 6 is closed session where you review the applicant packets. Okay. And then last but not least is your April 30th to May 1st, which is Saturday, Sunday for your interviews. And of course, the goal is that you start this new position on July 1st.
Right.
And have maybe some transition time with Dr. Young in between that. Okay.
Can
And
you
you'll name that person in May.
Can you send that to the board?
Absolutely.
That would be great with all the
We'll
dates.
send you all the notes.
Okay, thank
Yep,
you.
Absolutely. And
Thanks.
reach out anytime if you need either one of us on the journey.
And
Thank
again,
you.
did a
Thank
great
you.
job tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you both very much as well.
And thank you for giving us the time. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
And I do have one speaker that wants to speak upon the superintendent role, I guess. Greg Thomas.
Sherry, thanks for recognizing me. Hey, Mrs. Grubbs, great point in regards to the handout that you were all presented with tonight. Which got me back to thinking when I was a student and we started writing essays, what's the one thing that we always did? We had somebody proofread it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that you had your family emergency or whatever. However, you do have a constituent that could have done that and should have done that for you. Therefore, you were left with a product that is unsatisfactory. And that is a product. And it makes me really nervous that that line of thought and attention to detail is involved in the process of our next superintendent. So I implore all of you, hopefully, to pay attention to those types of things, that if we're, that's what we're getting as a product at the beginning, what are we getting at the end? Nobody likes to buy a pig in a poke. In regards to that, In my line of work, I've built many management teams. Although they were much smaller than what we're dealing with here, the dynamics are still the same. You want to pull people together for a common good to achieve a common goal. What the district has exemplified in their school ratings is absolutely marvelous. Big reason why I moved here with my kids to go to school. It's a big reason why I'm sure the audience is here too with their kids. And with that said, I hate to see any big drastic changes made within the district. I think there's some fine tuning to do, no doubt about that. But I don't think there's anybody probably better to recognize those things than your assistant superintendent, who's been there the whole way. I don't even know her. I'll give her my vote because she's been there. We're probably not going to agree on a lot of things, and I'm fine with that. But the bottom line is in building management teams, I don't always want somebody that thinks the way that I do. And I hope that people recognize that and take that for a good, a positive. But because she's been in this place a long time, she can recognize some of the pitfalls and address them and make those tweaks and changes. We don't need big, huge changes. That test score speaks for itself. And we need to continue with that, and we need to hold on to a lot of that. And we need to make sure that we hold on to the people that are helping push that forward. And with that said, we need to also be looking at who we can take from within our fold to fill the position of assistant. That would be my recommendation. And I've built many, many management teams. I don't know what I look at, but I have, and I've always found. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. So, thank you. Well, do that every time I have a meeting. I touch it. You don't have to stay if you don't want to. You're welcome to take off. And we'll be in touch probably tomorrow. So thank you. Now we're going to move on to our next item of business. Let's see. Okay. Did you want me to read that? Or would you like to? Do you need this? I did not read this one. Okay. It's regarding item number 9.1, response to mask mandate. And the information I want to share with you is the current mask mandate in place for California public schools is generating considerable discussion within individual. Oh, did you want to do it?
Yeah, either way.
Go for it.
I thought you were looking at something else.
Dr. Young.
Same thing. So thank you. So thank you, board, and everybody in attendance tonight. So the current mask mandate, as Ms. Ada said, in place for California public schools is generating considerable discussion within individual school districts throughout the state and recently Benicia Unified as well. Tonight, board, you will have a discussion about the current mask mandate in place for California public schools. I think in and of itself, and in relation to the current timeline as per Governor Newsom's update for California public schools that he'll be delivering this coming Monday, the 28th. Tonight, the board, you will discuss whether or not or consider Benicia Unified School District should lift the mask mandate ahead of the governor's direction or wait for the direction and proceed accordingly. Either way forward will necessitate working closely with all of us, with both of our employee groups and clear communication with our parent community. So with that, I turn it over for your, actually, you're going to have public comment. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Young. And at this time, I have a stack of public comments, and I'm going to call you up one at a time. Our first speaker this evening will be Nicole Waskew-Opperman.
Hello, my name is Nicole Waskew-Opperman. I have 2 children at Mary Farmer Elementary School, and I'm here to speak on agenda number 9. Here in Benicia, we have a lot of proactive parents who are making sure that their kids' mental and physical needs are being met every day. But I'm not here to fight for those kids. I'm here to fight for the kids that don't have the proactive parents. Kids who don't get water sent to school with them every single day. I'm here fighting for the kids who are forced to wear dirty masks so they're not being washed at home. I'm here to fight for the kids who don't get play dates, who don't have extracurricular activities, who are isolated and scared. Physical negative effects of the mask on children include cracked teeth, clenching, headaches, breathing problems, sores, acne, ear pain. We've all heard this. You guys might even have it yourselves. The mental negative effects of masks on our children include anxiety, depression, fear. Fear. The mask is a visual reminder of the pandemic that they just endured. It is not the physical barrier for a virus that it is meant to be. At the Benicia City Pool, here in Benicia, we are not allowed to have personal flotation devices. Do you guys know why? Because it gives you a false sense of security. The same facts apply to masks. They give you a false sense of security. And they encourage fear and isolation. Our leaders have shown us it is safe to gather without masks, hosting Super Bowl, having large dinners, hugging strangers. So we've all seen the pictures. So if our leaders are showing us it's safe, why are we still forcing fear onto our community? By making masks a choice in schools, we will start to heal the overwhelming fear. Maybe a teenager will have their first kiss now. Maybe a third grader will be invited to play basketball with a new group of kids. Maybe we will save a life, not having the masks and the fear anymore. There are ways to legally add in resolutions on top of any mandate. There are, and I think I've emailed them to many of you. So thank you for your time. Smiling is great. It boosts mood. It boosts immunity, energy. I'd love to see your smiles. I'd love to see the kids smile. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Natalie Heckman.
Hello, I'm happy to be here in person this evening. Good evening, my name is Natalie Heckman. I'm a third generation Benician and mother of 2 children at Roberson in 1st and 4th grade. As a nurse, when it comes to masking and vaccinating my children, I study peer-reviewed medical literature to make educated decisions. As Dr. Young just mentioned, several California school districts have implemented optional masking, not mandated. These school districts and counties are listening to their community. Parents have the responsibility and the authority to make analysis-based and medical decisions on behalf of their children, not school boards and government officials. From a medical and mental health perspective, and to protect my children's right to choose, I respectfully request you to make an indoor masking optional for our Benicia students. By continuing to mandate masks, you're promoting the idea that the mask can prevent or stop a disease. This isn't accurate. It's unlawful to advertise that a product or service can prevent disease unless you possess competent and reliable scientific evidence substantiating the claims are true. Extraordinary measures in schools are not justified. Vaccinated children have almost no risk of severe disease and a flu-like risk for unvaccinated children. Teachers remain well protected by vaccination with boosters. Protecting the mental, social, and emotional health of students is paramount. Children are experiencing alarming levels of anxiety, depression, eating disorders, and increased suicide attempts. Focused protection strategies can help protect the vulnerable and immunocompromised. Focused protection works. It's how we have managed other respiratory viruses for high-risk individuals our entire lives. Escalating COVID rules are harmful and not necessary. Please normalize the daily school experience as much as possible. Be a leader, be the change, return school to normal. Make masking optional for all Benicia students. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Leah Mojito.
Hi. Sorry, I'm probably not going to do the best job speaking tonight because I'm grieving, but I'm here for freedom of choice for our kids. I mean, it's time that common sense prevails and we lift these oppressive mask mandates off our children. It's not selfish to want them to breathe as God intended. It's kind of selfish though for adults who are terrified of death to put their fear on kids who are really at no risk of getting this virus and dying from this virus. I mean, even CNSB or CNBC or whatever it's called, even to put out an article where this week, basically, the cases have plummeted 90% from 800 and something thousand cases in America per day to 80,000 in all of America per day. So, I mean, that right there, it needs to change. You know, Gavin Newsom isn't making the best choices. And we see that at the Super Bowl. We see that with Magic Johnson. We see that at the French Laundry. It's time for you guys all to step up and lead the way like other districts have and put an end to these mandates that are not technically law because they didn't go through a legislative body. It's just time to put our kids first. Benicia kids matter, and I'm here for all these people. I'm here for my kids. I'm here for her. I'm here for her. So please consider, just please do this. It's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Janet Roberson.
Hi, good evening. My name is Janet Roberson. I'm a Benicia resident, a mom of 3 children at Mary Farmer and Benicia Middle School, and I'm a small business owner with a shop on First Street. Thank you for discussing the mask mandate today. I'm glad we're talking about it. This week, the elementary schools allowed children to play together at recess with other classes, and I thank you for that. My children were so happy and made many new friends, but we can agree it's disturbing that I should have to thank you for letting my children play with others at recess. This should be normal. Similarly, we should not be here asking you for permission for our children to see each other's faces at school. This is wrong and disturbing. When this pandemic started, we all wanted to help each other and be safe, and we willingly took steps to do so. But there is overwhelming medical data showing that masks are damaging our children mentally, emotionally, socially, and academically. I encourage you to read the data posted at beniciafreedom.org. It has a lot of good data, beniciafreedom.org. Even more disturbing is the fact that a majority of our youth cling to their masks like security blankets. They want to cover their faces. Ask them. Ask the middle schoolers and the high schoolers. They want their faces covered. They will tell you it's not fear of COVID, but a feeling of security that they can hide their faces, including my 10-year-old who went out to the car. But what have we wrought? I implore you to show courage and leadership and let our children resume normal activities as recommended by medical experts. Other school districts have voted to let their children choose whether to wear masks, and we ask you to do the same. You can read the ongoing list at beniciafreedom.org. There are more than 34 school districts in California who have granted family choice, not to mention countless districts outside of California who've had freedom for months, and the children are thriving. You have the ability to do the right thing now instead of putting this off any longer, waiting for endless nonsensical delays from the state. You are in a position of leadership in our schools and have a responsibility to do the right thing for our children. Now that we know the damage this is causing children who are the least affected by COVID, it is imperative that you demonstrate that leadership and let our children get back to normal. For families who are afraid, they can choose to stay masked, but the COVID restrictions need to be removed. Our children should be able to have pizza parties, share candy at Valentine's Day, sing during music class, laugh with each other at lunchtime. You lifted the recess, which is great, but they still at lunch, they cannot play with their other friends. Adults can do these things, yet we impose these restrictions on children who do not face danger from COVID. How can we burden our children for even one more day? We should not have to beg you to give our children's faces back. Passing the authority to the governor or CDPH or Cal OSHA or whoever you're blaming the mask mandates on means you are abdicating the responsibility you have to our children to act in their best interest and set them free. And these restrictions now, check out beniciafreedom.org. View the list of districts that have granted mask choice. Do it tonight. Give Benicia mask choice. Other districts have done it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Courtney Cronin.
Hello, I'm Courtney. Mine's short. I'm a parent of 2 Benicia Unified students, and I'm in support of removing the mask mandate for the students attending the schools here, regardless of their vaccination status. Masks should be a choice so that each person can make the decision based on what is best for their family. I believe that masking the children has become more harmful than helpful and is interfering with classroom instruction and the social well-being of the students. Please remove the mask mandate today. Thanks.
Okay, our next speaker is Greg Thomas again. Did he already leave? Okay, well, thank you. So Jennifer Kelly.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Jennifer Kelly. I am the parent of 2 children in Benicia Unified. I also went all through Benicia Unified. The last normal school year. The last normal school year for our seniors was 9th grade, just beginning their high school career. The last normal school year for our juniors, 8th grade, the last of their middle school years. The last normal school year for our sophomores, 7th grade. The last normal school year for our freshmen, 6th grade, just beginning their middle school years. The last normal school year for 8th graders, 5th grade, the last of their elementary school years. The last normal school year for 7th graders, 4th grade. 6th graders, 3rd grade. 5th graders, 2nd grade. 3rd graders, 1st grade. The last normal school year for our 2nd graders, never. The last normal school year for our 1st graders, never. The last normal school year for our kindergartners, never. Let that sink in. It's time. It's been 2 years of this madness. Our children deserve to see their friends' faces. They deserve to breathe. They deserve to learn from their teachers by watching their expressions. They deserve to see smiles. They deserve to be out playing in the fresh air during recess, passing periods, and PE, and not pulling, like we do, at filthy masks that have been proven to not protect them or stop the spread of COVID. It is unacceptable. How do we continue to look at these children and tell them that everybody else can remove their masks, but they can't? How do we tell them that we adults can roam freely without a face covering, so we choose, but they have to continue to sit for 7 hours in a mask, wear it outside and during PE, but nobody else has to? It's abuse. It needs to end. I am pro-choice. If a parent wishes to send their child to school in a mask or 10, that is their prerogative to feel a sense of security. However, for the rest of us let our children breathe. Let them get back to normalcy in the classroom and the playground and passing periods in PE. Remember, our littles, K through 2nd, have never been to school in a normal setting. Our 3rd graders probably struggle to recall what it was like before, and our 9th through 12th graders probably wish for what was. These children have missed out on so much the last 2 years. I will not stop fighting for them. Let them breathe and make the right choice.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Amber Clemens.
Good evening, board, and it's going to be really hard to follow what everybody else said. I can appreciate the passion that's in this room. There's so many parents that I know that wanted to be here tonight that couldn't because the meeting was at 5 and not later. My name is Amber Clemens. I'm a 3rd generation Benician. I fought for 2 years in court to get my children to come to this school district. I'm sorry. I spent a lot of money, and I fought my ex-husband very hard to get my kids in this school district because I felt it was the best opportunity for me and my siblings and my father, my grandfather, and I wanted my children to have the exact same experiences that I have had. Mrs. Grubbs was a teacher of mine, and I remember when my son Colton was at Matthew Turner and I saw Mrs. Grubbs, I thought, there's no way you're still here. But it brought me comfort. It brought me comfort, and it brings me comfort that she's in this room now. I love that my children have teachers that I had, and they had that opportunity. I'm saying this to you, and I'm calling you out, Mrs. Grubbs, because that same child, Colton, has suffered so badly. I'm sorry. The past few years, we have recently found out that he has a hearing impairment. He's been in speech since he was 2 years old. He's had an IEP through this district. He reads lips, and I didn't even realize, as his mother, that that was something that he was doing until this mask stopped him from doing that.
I'm begging you to please do the right thing tonight for our children. There are, like they've said, so many other districts within our state. California is in its own bubble. We have family, we have friends outside of California that have been normal. Their children have been back to normal for months and months. I'm begging you on behalf of my son. We have 3 children in this district, Matthew Turner, Benicia Middle School, and the high school. Our sophomore daughter, she, like another parent said, likes the mask. She likes to hide. And it's tearing our hearts apart because now she wants to hide behind it. I really got off topic. I'm sorry. How do we justify when we have massive indoor events that other parents have spoke about? How do we justify that to our children? My 3rd grader, his last normal school year was kindergarten, and he was telling my niece who's in 1st grade, school used to be so fun, Abigail. School used to be so fun. We used to be able to see each other smile. They don't get to see that anymore, and it's terrifying to see what is happening to our children. So I'm begging you, I'm pleading with you to please lift this mandate. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sandy Gallardo, sorry.
This podium reminds me when I used to stand up in front of the church. I used to go to church, and I come from a Christian family, and to be honest with you, gets me a little bit shaken up, but I shake it off. So my name is Sandy. I have 2 boys. I'm Mary Farmer, and I am also here to children. Kids have been wearing the mask ever since school started, and they have been testing positive. Every positive test, it is called a case. It shows us that these masks aren't actually helping because they're actually, getting the virus anyways. I asked Rhonda if they had some sort of record or data showing the parents how many positive tests have been hospitalized or how many children have died because of getting COVID, and she couldn't answer me. She just said, you have to go to Solano County, and I'm not asking about Solano County. I'm asking specifically here, Benicia school districts like Mary Farmer, Matthew Turner. How many kids have tested positive, and how many kids have been hospitalized or died of COVID? They have none. There's nothing. So because of this, and because we have got, or they have got COVID, it shows us that these don't work. They're actually just doing more harm to their lungs and psychologically and mentally, and these other stuff doing to their children. If you guys will only be doing your job and seeing what the study shows and lay off TikTok, you will realize that this isn't anymore about keeping the people healthy. This is about financial purposes. To who? We don't know that. Stop telling us that this is up to the governor. It is not. A lot of school districts have dropped their school mandates, the mask mandates. So I know that you guys can do it. I know that you guys can stand up and say, wait a minute. There's 90% of parents, they are disagreeing with this. So there's rumors about other stuff too, but I guess there will be a time for that. But all I can tell you is that CDC and the FDA are only here to recommend us or advise us. They're not here to make laws. This is not a law. And so just to close it down, everything that's happening is unconstitutional. And I don't know if you guys read the CDC, what the study shown on January 20th, 2022. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Gareth Watcott. Is it Watcott? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, board. I'm a relatively new transplant to Benicia. I have 2 children who attend Joe Henderson Elementary School. And I am not, and haven't been throughout the pandemic, an anti-mask supporter. I have supported masking in public and in schools, but I am here today to think that the time has come to move past the mask mandate. When we started this a couple years ago, after school was reintroduced, it was to limit community spread. The concern at the time was having children spread COVID within the schools would lead to those who are most susceptible to COVID getting sick and dying. And we've now removed masking requirements for general population, for population groups that are at serious risk of death and hospitalization from COVID. If you go to the CDC's website, you can look up existing deaths from COVID since the pandemic began. For the age group of 0 to 17, total deaths from COVID is 851. In that same time period, there have been 1,386 deaths from pneumonia, not COVID related. This demonstrates the relative benign nature of COVID to children. It is low risk. When you compare that to other age groups, oh, my phone just stopped working. There we go. When you compare that to other age groups, they have another chart where they show the relative risk per age group reference to 18 to 29-year-olds. Myself and my age group, we have 4 times the risk of death for myself, and yet I'm not required to wear a mask at my place of work. For my children, relative to the 18 to 29-year-olds, they have less than the rate of death for children is less than that of rate of death for the 18 to 29-year-olds, and yet they're still required to wear masks at their effective place of work, which is schooling. So the mask mandate for children doesn't make sense given what we now know about COVID, its seriousness for children, and the decisions we've made as a society for preventing community spread. If we were still requiring masks of all populations with the intention of preventing deaths among those who are most susceptible, which is the elderly, then there may be an argument for it. But given right now, masking exclusively in schools and allowing the rest of the population to go maskless outside has no medical or COVID-related policy other than fostering fear in parents of small children. And I thank you. I encourage you to please list the mask date for children in schools, like we've done for those in the rest of society. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Heather Kirby.
Hi, thank you for having this meeting and for giving us this opportunity to speak to you. And I'm also going to comment on agenda item number 9. So I am asking that you do not wait for the governor and the CDPH to make a recommendation to remove the school mask mandate. I'm asking that you follow suit with other California school districts to drop the school mask mandate immediately. I have 2 children in elementary school. My 7-year-old son said, "I don't like masks because sometimes I have trouble focusing in class and they make it worse. I start fiddling with them. I have asthma, so sometimes I have to go out of my class because it's hard to breathe." My 10-year-old daughter said, "Masks are pointless. All my teacher says all day long is, pull up your mask over your nose, under your chin." I was helping out in my son's classroom last week, and I don't think we're thinking about these little kids. There are 3.8 instructional hours a day for my 2nd grader. There's 180 days in the school year. That would be 684 hours masked in a full school year. This is unacceptable that we've gone even this far forcing masks. And what do our kids see? They see that they can be mask-free around town, but not at school. Masks are required for public transit, healthcare settings, jails, homeless shelters, and schools. What message does that send to our kids? They understand that what is being asked of them is unfair. Keeping kids engaged and thriving in the classroom is hard enough as it is. Throw in the pressure, rules, and uncomfortable nature of wearing a mask, and you're bound to end up with kids that just don't want to go to school, don't really like it anymore, like mine. Let me parent in regard to masking for my child. I strongly feel that the forced masking is doing more harm than good. I'm asking that you please use your position on this board to make masks optional at school. And lastly, so what if masks were banned at school? Not allowed. Do you think the parents who strongly believe that their child should be masked would be outraged? Don't you think those parents would demand that they get to make the decision that they feel is best for their child? I'm asking that you give me back my choice immediately.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tanya Copper.
Hi, I'm Tanya Copper. I have 2 sons in the school district, and I have one that doesn't mind wearing the mask, and he likes it, he says, because he likes to hide behind it. That's my opinion. And then I have another one who really struggles wearing a mask, and he keeps fiddling with it, puts it under his nose. He already has a lot of issues concentrating, and wearing the mask makes it worse for him. So he fiddles with it.
Can I interrupt her for a second? Can you pause? Can you please put your mask back on? Then we can provide one, I believe. Don't we have one? Thank you.
Should I go or wait? Okay. And the one son that struggles with it keeps fiddling with it. And he was actually forced back into independent study last semester, which he really struggled with. He needs proper instruction in the classroom. If I would have known back then, what I know now, I would have fought that. And then once again, the beginning of this year in January, he was again forced home for a whole week and missed school. We even got a truancy letter for that, once again, because his mask was under his nose. He doesn't do it out of defiancy. He just fiddles with it. And he has also missed several hours where he was placed in the office because he was removed out of the classroom because, once again, it's under his nose. He is currently failing 2 classes, and so for him, I'm really appealing that it is a choice. He is dropped his grades. And when he's at home, he's very depressed about independent study. And I'm fighting right now that he's not being moved into independent study again, which I was told a couple weeks ago he will be forced back into independent study. And so for kids like him, I really hope you guys make it a choice and not a mandate. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Robin Holtich.
Good evening. My name is Robin Palettage, and I'm a mother of 2, and I have a daughter here at Benicia High School. Let me fix my mask. So I'm here today to speak on agenda number 9, to make the mask optional for our children. What's best for my child, what's best for one child may not be what's best for mine, and vice versa. There's a lot of reasons behind it: health issues, learning disabilities, speech and hearing impairments. Kids need to see facial expressions when they learn. Why are our children the last ones to be able to remove the mask? They have no voice, so I'm here to be their voice, to speak up for them, because they have no say in this. They've been dealing with this for over almost 2 years now, while everyone else has been able to remove their masks. How come almost 30 school districts in California have made it optional? More than in the state of California, while the rest of the country has been back to normal, in-person school without masks since August of 2021. We're over here in our own bubble. None of this makes sense. And every single one of you know that none of this makes sense. This is not science. This is not science. This is not fair to our children. It should be an option. Our children have the lowest rate of contracting COVID. Let our children choose or not to choose. Why is it that we can go down on First Street and have lunch and dinner with our friends and our family, but a mile away, our students are forced to wear masks for more than 6 hours in a day. How about we push their tables together and pretend it's a restaurant? And then they can take their masks off. I'm asking every single one of you to speak up for our children. This is not fair. This is not right. This is not constitutional. I'm asking you to remove this mask mandate on our children now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have one final speaker, Colton, is it Charson?
Mr. Miller.
I don't have cards. I don't have, and who was the other person? You came up already. Okay, so can you fill out a blue card? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. No worries at all. Yep.
Oh, okay, and what's your name?
I'm his mother, Amber. Clemens.
Oh, and you spoke already.
I did, but then Colton was hoping I asked.
Of
if that
course,
was okay.
of course.
Are you ready?
Yeah,
Okay,
please, go ahead.
Sorry. Colton actually wanted to come tonight. He had an outpatient patient surgery yesterday, and he couldn't come. He couldn't be here. As his mother, I'm very proud of him that he even wanted to speak in a situation like this with so many things that have been going on with him, like I addressed earlier. I told him I was very proud of him. So he asked if he could text me something to read, so I'm going to do that. Hello, for almost 2 years now, myself and everyone here at BMS have been wearing masks and following the safety rules every day since March of 2020. Now it is 2022, and we still are wearing them. Many of my teachers and staff all think it's a good idea that we should stop wearing masks now since the COVID statuses have dropped, since the percentage of infected COVID patient status has dropped. Also, it is super hard for me to hear teachers and a lot of the staff because of the masks. I hope tonight you will vote to stop wearing masks and make BMS a fun and safe place again, because right now it's very stressful for me and hard, and not wearing a mask would make school so much easier for me and fun. He then asked me to show you what his brother's mask looked like that he was in my car. So I have these cloth masks that I bought 20 of them, and I constantly wash them every night. I do not send the same mask with my 8-year-old, or even Colton wears these paper masks with my 8-year-old to school every day. He wears a brand new mask. This mask was given to him this morning before school. It's white on the inside, and it's no longer white. This was after dropping him off at 8 o'clock this morning, and I picked him up at 2:20. This is disgusting. I don't want him wearing this, and luckily for my child, he gets to wear a new mask every day. That's not the same thing for all of the other children in our district. So again, on behalf of Colton and myself, please consider dropping the mandate. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Andrew Miller.
Hi, my name is Andrew Miller. I'm here again today to ask you to drop the mandate. I again came here after work. I think I mentioned it last meeting. I work in the hospital. 2 years I've been helping COVID patients, not one single child. I've seen a lot of people pass away, and it's terrible for all of them. In my own experience, I sent a letter to you guys. I don't care to share it with the entire community, but you know what I'm talking about. It's been very difficult, and my experience in the hospital with kids is there's none. My experience with the mental problems that this has caused the kids in our community is intimate. And I know that not one single kid has died of COVID in our community, but I know that one young man took his own life, and that was terrible. And I can't say for sure that it was because of this, of course, but I guarantee it didn't help. Now, The time to mask up is over. We did what we thought was right. We did what we thought was right for everybody. And now we know more. And I can't add very much to what all these wonderful people have said tonight. I think they pretty much covered all the bases. But I did talk to the officer outside and asked if I would be arrested if I took off my mask, or any of you, and we're all cool. She's good. She's not going to arrest any of us or any of the kids at all, and she doesn't even want to. Now, here's a list of some of the districts that have ended this, regardless of what the governor has said. Sorry, it's hard to. Roseville Joint Union High School District, El Dorado Union High School District, Rescue Union School District, Buckeye Union, Latrobe Unified School District. These are all in California, by the way. Placerville School District, Gold Trail Unified, Black Oak Mine Unified School District, East Nicholas High School, Sutter County, Nevada Joint Union High School District, Roseville City School District, Escondido Union Elementary, Rancho Santa Fe School District, Amador County Unified, Fresno County School District, John Adams Academy in Placer County, Santa Fe Christian Schools in San Diego, Placer Union High School District, Western Placer Unified School District, San Luis Obispo County District, Golden Valley Union School District, Clovis Unified School District, which is one of the biggest school districts in California, Wheatland School District, Rockland School District, Galt Joint Elementary School District, Archo, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that one, but school district. And also on the way here, I was listening to the news, and the CDC is going to be dropping their mask mandate tomorrow, from what I understand, if the news was correct.
Thank you. And our last speaker tonight is Casey. And Casey, didn't you? Oh, this is the second. Never mind.
Yes.
What was your last name again?
Wagner. And sorry about that. I had asked him if I needed to put both
That's
topics
okay.
on there. So
No
thank
worries.
you for
Thank you.
welcoming me back up. To follow up on Mr. Maselli's board report, I would like to clarify that a law is passed by the Senate and the House of Representatives and then signed by the governor. A mandate is made by the governor with the power given to them by the legislature in a state of emergency only. They're not the same. I hope the board makes the right decision and decides that tomorrow, Friday, February 25th, 2022, masks can be worn by choice by all Benicia Unified students and staff at all locations. Over 34 other California districts have already lifted the mask mandate by breaking no laws, and we're already late. We need to do the right thing and make the mask wearing a personal choice. We need to let them breathe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for everybody that spoke. It's important that we hear the information from you. So we do appreciate that. And at this time, we are going to be having some open discussion here amongst our team. And, you know, I just want to say, you know, I get all of your emails and I read every single one. And a lot of them are duplicated and such, but I still read through them to see if there was a hint of something different. I go through them all. The last list that I got, and believe me, I got like 40 or 50 emails in this afternoon that I haven't responded to yet because I haven't had time. But earlier today, I got an email that listed all what Andrew Miller said, all the school districts, or most of the school districts that he mentioned on here. And I just want to make a point. It surprised me that there were so many, but I did a little bit of a deeper dive. And I went ahead and wanted to find out how many school districts there are in California. We have 1,037 school districts in California. And of the list of 26 that are on mine, there are, well, in the student population, wait a minute, I have that here too. There's 158,287 students that equate that list. It's only 2.6% of the California school student. I'm just telling you the information that I went and looked up. It's 2.6%. There's 97 point whatever percent that have not dropped it. And I just want to make it clear that I get it. I understand. I truly do. I know this is not going to be a communications back and forth. Please put your mask back on. Thank you. It just made me do a deeper dive because I thought, you know what? They're bringing up some great points and they're sharing all these school districts. What are we doing different? Like why? But then when I added the numbers up, the numbers don't equate to this ginormous amount of California schools that are falling into that same. It doesn't. Their numbers are. Excuse me. The numbers are numbers. And at this point, I'm going to open it up to my colleagues to share any information that they have. But I did want to let you know that I did look into it.
I wanted to ask some questions of our district just for clarification. I do appreciate all of the feedback from parents, absolutely. But what I want to know is what is happening. So what happens to students? What has been happening to students if they don't comply with the mask or if they refuse? What has happened, like in terms of, are they being disciplined? Like what is going on? Are you able to share any of that by chance? What has happened?
I don't know every detail, but I do know that we give reminders. We ask them to go take a break. I will need to look into the piece about getting moved to independent study that I heard someone say. I think it depends on the situation. If it's defiance, it becomes a defiance issue where there would be discipline. But if most teachers, as I've talked to them or gotten reports, they'll do a reminder and kids comply. Most kids are very compliant.
And then the other part I was concerned about, I want to know because I know that we've kind of this has been in the forefront, over the past few weeks or so. But I want to know what has happened with conversations with our staff. Like, have you had those conversations so that, say we move forward with, we need to get rid of the mask mandate. Have you had input or conversations as well from staff? Like what has been that?
Sure, Dr. Gill and Dr. Beatson and I had a conversation with union leadership from both of our bargaining units during the week, and they didn't survey every member, but I think our walkaway was a general consensus was it's hard, it's frustrating. I mean, they're kind of the same place where people want to move on with things. I think their feeling is their interest is knowing what the direction is from the governor, which is in alignment with CDPH, and then also one of the things we talked about is where Dr. Matiusz would lie with this. So that's kind of what our walk away from that meeting was.
And then was there a conversation with him since the last meeting by chance?
There hasn't been a conversation with him, but the superintendents meet with Dr. Matiusz every Friday, and we do an update. And certainly I'll have questions for him. We all do every Friday to see what his thoughts are about what the governor may be saying on Monday, what that impact might be. I mean, one of the possibilities. Well, I'll leave it there. Go ahead.
I have a couple of things I'd like to share regarding what Mrs. Moss said as well. And I can also address what Dr. Matiusz had to say at the Solano School Board meeting regarding masks, because I was part of that meeting. Regarding the discipline, I too did a deep dive today because I was reading, I don't know how many emails we've had, but I too have been reading them and reading the discipline. I was rather shocked when I went on the high school website to see the amount of referrals students get because they're not aligning their mask the right way, they're not social distancing, moving into suspensions, and then into independent study for a week. So I was really kind of concerned about that because when I was first reading the parents saying those things, I was thinking, oh, that's not happening in Benicia. And then I thought, bad me, shame on me for us not being aware that we had moved into such a disciplined structure regarding the mask for students. I can't imagine how that is supportive of any of our students when we're putting them out of class with regards to a mask, when we're so concerned about their learning and the struggles that students are having. So that's one. And also regarding the suspensions, my understanding always, as having been in education for 50 years, is you get to be a suspendable offense based on ed code. I'm not sure where this falls. So I need to have that clarified. Number two, when I spoke with I didn't speak with Mr. Mateus, let me correct that. When I heard Dr. Mateus speaking at the Solano School Board meeting 2 weeks ago now, is that right? The week before, when we had our last meeting, maybe it was a week ago, he was asked point blank about masks for children in schools. If he would keep the masks for school, and he was very clear and he said no, which surprised me, one, that the question was put to him so point blank, and two, that he was very comfortable and very clear about it. But my bigger thing that I look at, our county does not require masks. Our city does not require masks. Children can go play basketball on Saturdays at the city gym, go on down and watch. They don't wear masks. Why are we demanding they keep them at school? We really need to be thinking about that. And I'm not saying drop it. That is not what I'm asking for. What I'm asking for is the choice. Make it a choice. But it's everywhere. And our county health has been in support of that.
But it's not everywhere, Diane.
No.
It's not everywhere. And I just
What's
shared
not
the
everywhere?
information.
But
of all
you know
the
what, Sherry,
districts.
we don't have to wait for 1,000 districts. I know exactly where that was.
Excuse me.
Guys,
It is a mask mandate. It is a legal,
it's
thing.
Guys,
So
stop.
here's what-
You need to let us talk. This is our time to be having a conversation.
And so what I do know
Sorry.
is with the list of schools, I know that, and the reason why I ask about the discipline part and what's happening with students, because say, kids decide tomorrow they show up and they don't have their mask, then what's going to happen? I know that one of those districts that's listed in the school districts that have dropped the mask mandate,
Right.
they actually, one of the districts did a resolution so that it doesn't become a suspendable offense, so
Right.
that they pretty much basically it gave them the choice without them being penalized if they didn't. So my concern is moving forward, what's going to happen? So that's why I ask about the conversations with staff, because that's a big deal. I know that the district has worked hard to build relationships with staff, like the bargaining members. You've worked hard to build that relationship.
Right.
So what was their input? Like, what is their what do they have to say about this? Because I'm all for people having a choice, but I also know that we had the mask mandate, and I know that things were put in place just to keep everybody safe. And yes, things are getting better. The numbers aren't what they used to be. We're more aware. Folks have gotten vaccinations, and not even delving into what is the percentage of our population of folks who are vaccinated within our system? Having all the information so that, okay, this decision is made, then, we can kind of move forward. But if we haven't had all these conversations like we should to know and be informed, I think it kind of puts us in a really weird position. So that's why I asked, what has been.
First of all, I'd like to know, Diane, where, I'm just curious as to where you got the suspension referral information. I mean, that is
On the Benicia High
private.
School website.
Isn't that on Aries? How would you get in? How would
There are discipline grids on their website.
it show the amount of kids that have been suspended for
that's not
those
what I said.
specific things, or
It just
referred
said
for those
it-
specific things?
It's their policy, right?
Okay,
And then
I-
so many, I'm sorry.
Okay. So on that, I find it unique because I have talked to, we had a meeting at the high school, Sherry and I did back in January, and that was one of the issues that the teachers have brought up, is that there wasn't really any teeth behind the mask mandate. If they were told to just remind the kids. And I think I have a unique perspective here out of everybody, because I actually teach junior high. This is my 28th year. I'm out in Pittsburgh. And I do spend a good portion of my day reminding everybody to pull up their masks. And here's the other thing. If a kid doesn't have a mask, we supply them with one. I
Correct.
assume it's the same here.
Mhm.
If your mask rips, we supply them with a mask. If their mask is dirty, they can get a new mask from us. I'm assuming, because that's the same way we do it in Pittsburgh. So that part of it, the referrals and suspensions for masks really didn't jive with what I've heard, because I don't see that as being something, unless a kid literally said, I'm not wearing a mask, I don't care, you can't make me. I mean, the pulling, I get that all day, and I just remind them, I probably say it 5, and it just is, it's what we got to do right now until this is gone. It's gone. No, it's not gone. If you look,
We're not supposed to be going.
because going back to what I had said mistakenly earlier tonight when it was not the time for it, this constant bringing up of these school districts that have just decided to defy the mandate. So I'm like, okay, is the mandate a suggestion? And the one lady, everyone looks young to me because I'm old, but the one young lady said that, and she was partially right on this, that the mandates, this is from the University of Pacific's McGeorge School of Law, mandates and laws are effectively the same thing. The only difference is how they're initiated. Mandates are created and enacted by an executive branch, such as the state governor, rather than through lengthier legislative process that ends with the governor's signature and new durable law, meaning it goes on in perpetuity. Mandates are usually temporary to deal with an urgent issue, and I remember somebody talking about an emergency issue. The text of the California rule calls the mask mandate guidance, but it was issued to the California Department of Public Health, an authority that can take action against you if you disobey it. It does have the force of law, says Leslie Jacobs, a professor at the university's McGeorge School of Law. So the thing I wanted to ask Charles, and Charles and I have had discussions, is from what I've read, a mandate has legal teeth, and that we would be liable if we just unilaterally. And I was reading about Roseville today that their insurance company went and said, look, you guys are now on the hook if something happens because you've defied the state mandate. I mean, if it was a state suggestion where they said, hey, I think it's a good idea to wear a mask, but you guys choose to do what you want. But unless I'm incorrect, and if I am, I'll admit it. From my reading, it seems like a mandate has that, that rule of law teeth. I don't know if you were able to find out from Josh or anything.
But when we got into this earlier, here's the update, August 23rd, 2021, from the California Department of Public Health, and it's the parameters that we as school districts are supposed to follow, and it is a legal mandate. It says it right in there. I mean, that's been our direction and our understanding of it, and state law authorizes the California Department of Public Health to take these measures that are necessary to prevent the spread. So it is a legal mandate.
So Charles, I was wondering, what are the financial and legal ramifications that BUSD would be subject to if we drop the mask mandate before the state approves it?
Right. So talking to legal counsel, the possibility, Mr. Maselli mentioned one of them. One of them is if you you follow a protocol outside of the legal mandate, and you wind up having a case and you have a claim where somebody would claim that they contracted the disease and had complications, and they made a claim, there's a possibility that your insurance company may not represent the school district in that. There's a possibility of that. Dr. Cush and I were talking earlier today. There's also a possibility that OSHA, which is another defining organization, could levy fines against the school district if they went outside of the mandate that's given to public schools. The other one, some folks have mentioned this in the past, would school districts be penalized with funding? We looked around on that. We haven't seen anything on that. So
can I ask one other question then? And thank you for that answer.
Sure.
Do we suspend kids for not wearing their masks?
Yes.
And if we do, why don't we know that?
Yeah.
Okay, wait, let him answer.
So the grid says 3 to 5 days of a suspension could be reassigned to independent study for the remainder of the school year or possibly experience expulsion.
So,
Yeah, when we entered into this and we worked with our employee bargaining group, we put together this grid of this discipline policy regarding masking to get compliance. So that's we did
so
do
to
that. Sure.
my point, then, how much flexibility and understanding is there? I mean, I guess you can't answer that, but
I'd be interested. So Diane, the thing, I get the grid. You know, we have a discipline grid too. The one young lady talked about her kid being suspended for that. To have a discipline grid and then to know the actual numbers of people that have been enforced on the discipline grid are two different things. And I would be really curious. I would have a hard time believing that a lot of kids have been suspended for it or referred. Like I said, even at the high school, talking to the teachers, there was that feeling that there was no teeth behind it. So I'm not saying yay or nay, should people be suspended or not, but I don't think, I wonder if it's as widespread. I just can't really buy that. I mean, the only place you could see that, if a kid has been suspended for that specific kid would be on Aries, and that's that's not something that's public access.
well, maybe we can get that number.
It is on their discipline grid. They can be sent home after multiple
Right.
reminders.
And or they
for
could just
health
be
and
put out of
safety, but they
class.
do get to come back the next day. So
Right.
they haven't enforced, to my knowledge, but I will confirm that it's been a week or a few days for solely a mask. I don't know.
I'd be curious to know
context
how many
surrounding that.
people have actually, gone through this on the
And under what circumstances? Was it defiance? Was it just, our mask slipped down all the time? I'm very curious about that because
I think we can follow
Well,
up.
I'm very troubled about that. I was shocked, Cece, when I saw that. But as I said, I wasn't, and I guess it's a piece that I'm gonna say that falls on us because we didn't read some of the documentation that we were given, not realizing
right.
there was a penalty to
mean-
students involved, and
Right.
that I'm gonna say is shame on us. That was our
But I
fault.
did read that,
But-
and I knew that discipline grid was there because
But that
way back when
shouldn't
we
have been
decided to
there.
go back in person,
But-
you had to have something there to get
No,
people.
you didn't.
But
That's
why
what
didn't
we
we
then you have
have
a difference of
input?
opinion.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
But I have a real concern about that. So then I'm going to ask, how many kids have just missed class because they've been put out because they're doing this a lot? We have been doing everything that we can to support our staff and our students with our plans and all the money that we're pushing forward to help to close the gap that we created through COVID. And then we're turning around and we're now hearing kids are being sent out of class, kids are being suspended because of COVID. To me, that seems like we're being counterproductive here, and I have a concern about that. So they really are carrying the brunt of COVID.
So can I ask a question? So let's say if the governor says, okay, I'm dropping the mask mandates.
On Monday.
Yeah, if he says that on Monday. And then, so is that immediate or does that have to go back to bargaining?
It doesn't, I don't think it really needs to be bargained because we've been disciplined, right? And consistent is the word about following CDPH, which
Right.
We've
aligns,
aligned everything we've
which
done.
aligns with,
Right.
with the
We've been
governor.
all
So it
aligned.
wouldn't necessitate,
Yeah.
in my
So
understanding.
it wouldn't have to be a meeting, it would just happen.
The meeting would be, certainly to Dr. Moss's point, I mean, these are employees who are standing in front of kids every day, and, it would be a shift for them, and we, out of, courtesy and commitment to them, the valued members of the team, obviously, that we articulate to them clearly what that change is and what that looks like for them, because they'll have a lot of questions.
Thank you.
Sure.
And there's no mandate to wear masks outside, right? They have those breaks.
There are a
Which
lot of-
school are you at? Thank you. Okay. Thank you. I've been told I've been told that the mask mandate has been dropped outside and that the small cohorts that were in place for children to only stay with their students in their classroom has been dropped. So I'm just sharing information of what I've heard. So if I can get clarification on that, because I think that's another piece of the puzzle, I can't answer directly. Okay. Oh, yeah. My ask on that would be, do all our schools allow students to be on the exterior of buildings without masks I'm not asking, I'm asking here, without masks? And if that's the case, are all the elementary schools that were told they had to be in cohorts with their classrooms, has that been stopped so that every student in every class can go out and have recess with all of their friends?
Yeah, we lifted that second part, what you just said, this week for the grade level, so they can interact with one another. And there has not been an outdoor mask requirement.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, but you're saying that at some places, are they asking kids to do that? We have not required that.
Okay, so I think we need
People often ask when they line up to go in, they mask up and go in.
Right, I understand. So maybe we need to reach out to the schools again, just to reiterate that, so that, there's clarity there with every school, not just, or every classroom, really.
That's good. We'll follow up on that. One of the principals told me early on when we talked about this that there isn't an outdoor mask. And this is all new, right? So we're like, we're all figuring this out as we go along. And one of the principals said, line up, mask up. So that, especially with the little guys, right? So that was the intention. But we'll follow up to make sure that there, isn't an over adherence to masking outside.
Thank you.
I think it would help us. I think Mrs. Zeta is right. It would help us to know what the real story is. Because that's what I think we're missing, is what is the real story, what we are expecting.
Right. And if that's the case, we need to clarify that and make sure those kids are allowed
We need to be
do
corrected.
that on the outside. Because that should have been clearly explained to every classroom. I can't. I'm sorry. Would you like to fill out a speaker's card? I'm happy to talk after, but if you would fill out another speaker card, because I understand the frustration as a parent. I get it. No. Okay.
One other thing, can I just weigh in really quick? I know that board meetings are sort of this, feels like this unnatural form of communication. But, we, as Mr. Superintendent search firm Ferguson was talking about, there's the Brown Act, and while the board is not cutting you off and not wanting to engage in you, the Brown Act, you don't have back and forth conversation. So it's not that they don't want to do that, it's just the Brown Act outlines that you don't do that. So if you want to fill out another card, you can do that, and you can come up and have your 3 minutes. So just to clarify that, it's not a function of cutting you off or being rude.
Yes.
It's just Brown Act.
Thanks for saying that so eloquently, because I feel like I'm cutting people off, and that's not what I want, but it's what we have to do.
Yep, you're doing well.
Yes. Okay, I have Amber. What's your last name?
Know me really well after tonight. And thank you for clarifying, because I don't know if we all know that, and so it does come off that way. So thank you. I would strongly encourage each and every one of you guys to take the time and visit the schools. I guarantee that there's so many staff members that probably don't even know what what you look like, right? Because we're all behind the mask. Please go visit these schools. Teachers are imposing their own rules within the classrooms, definitely at the high school. I have a child at Matthew Turner, Benicia Middle School, and at the high school. What you guys are saying, and I know that like there's been these things lifted, you know, for example, Matthew Turner, like my third graders, supposed to be able to go out and play with, you know, maskless. That's not happening. He's been told that he needs to wear a mask during PE when he's outside. He's made to feel. He actually said to a yard duty teacher, well, I thought when we were outside we didn't have to wear a mask. And they said, well, do you want to get COVID?
Oh.
So I just strongly encourage you guys as board members, like it's astonishing to me that you don't know. And Diane, I thank you for taking responsibility as a member for not realizing what is really happening in our schools as far as punishment for these kids, that there's so many children. I have a child who has sensory issues. He fidgets with everything all the time. He can't control it. He cannot control it. And the fact that Tanya's son has been put on independent study for this is like insane. This is like, seriously, our children go to school to learn. They are our future. We teach them this, and they're being sent home or out of the classroom. They're missing the education because they fidget. It's just, please go visit these schools, because what you guys are expecting to happen, it is not happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Casey, again, I'm sorry, I have to, Wagner, thank you. I should know by now.
And I know you didn't have to let us speak again, so I definitely appreciate it. I was like shaking in my chair, trying not to have outbursts, so thank you. I would like to use my 3 minutes for you to ask me any questions about what's happening in the classroom. I'm in the classroom every day.
We are not able to do that. That's a Brown Act.
Okay, I respect that. Thank you. So I'm making myself available after the meeting. If anybody would like to email me, meet me after the meeting, I can answer any questions, anybody in the audience, any question. I'm in the classroom every day, and I'm on multiple campuses weekly. I know what's going on in these classrooms. The teachers are standing out the door with a hand pump of sanitizer, and no one is able to enter the classroom until their mask is pulled over their mouth, under their chin, and have had a pump of sanitizer. They do this, they walk to their seats, and if their mask is down or if it keeps falling or it's stretched out, not out of defiance at all, okay? Defiance is one thing, okay? We don't teach our kids to be defiant. However, with these masks, they're getting sent out of class. My own child, okay, I'll tell you, my child is 5 years old. Dr. Young, you and I went around the circle on this one, quite a lengthy time for this, okay? My son was harassed by students in his class about his mask, making fun of him. It was brought to the teacher's attention, and the teacher brought the principal in. The principal then took him out of class and had a conversation with him about his mask. Can't tell you how much time he was out of class for this, okay? Education was missed that day. I, as the parent, was not even notified. I had to approach the school and then approach the principal and then approach Dr. Young and took it to Dr. Matthias about this, okay? So what's going on in the classroom, I'm appalled that nobody up here knows how these things are being enforced and what the discipline is. Kudos for you for researching the Benicia High School grid. I'll tell you, at the other schools, it is very different. What another parent up here said is they say, oh, if you want to take they don't say you can take your mask off. I wrote personal notes to the teacher saying, hey, when my child goes outside, they need a reminder. He's 5, you guys. He needs a reminder, hey, it's okay to take your mask off. The younger kids need that to know that they can take it off outside. Fear is being instilled. Do you want to get COVID? You might get sick. Oh, what is happening? Why are we instilling fear? The discipline, the conversations, the communication coming out of people in the schools, the educators, the staff, the classified, certificated, whoever it is, who's ever with our children every day, is not doing what you think that they're doing. Some are. I'm not saying they're all instilling fear, but the general gist of it is their fear is being instilled if they take their mask off outside, and this is on multiple campuses. If you do anything tonight, I strongly urge you to remove disciplinary actions for mass. For a child to be suspended or to lose educational time in the classroom or to be sent out, I know a few teachers who send their kids to the office, many teachers who send their kids to the office, if they're having issues with their mask or if it goes under their nose like this or anything happens. Also, if you stepped out of this meeting every time you took a sip of water, do you know how much time you would miss from this meeting? That's what our kids are doing.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Natalie Heckman.
Thank you again for giving us another opportunity. I just wanted to ask you, if you are making decisions off the numbers and comparing to the number of districts statewide, let's talk about the numbers of COVID causing severe disease in kids. It's also negligible. It sounds like the impact of serious COVID in children equals or is less than the number of school districts lifting the mandate right now. How does that make sense? My child has been repeatedly told that she needs to wear her mask at recess, even though I have repeatedly told her, you do not have to wear your mask at recess. She has been told numerous times on the playground structures, lift it up, lift it up. Please make it an option.
Thank you. Anya Copper.
Hi, I'm probably going to repeat myself a little bit here. My son has been forced into independent study twice, once for a whole semester, then for a week. And if I did the research right, it says it's not, the law states that independent study is an optional educational alternative in which no pupil may be required to participate. But we were forced to do it. He has missed many hours where he has to go to the office. And once again, he's not defiant. He has problems. Like he can't sit still. He's fidgety. He fidgets with that. I mean, for me, it's been extremely hard to sit here with the mask the whole time. I can't handle it. And so I just want to make it clear that yes, students get sent to the office, get sent home, and have to do independent study. He has missed a lot of hours. He's not enjoying school anymore, and yeah, and just and he has bad grades now that he didn't have before COVID started. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is Heather Kirby, speakers rather.
Thanks again for letting me come back up, and this is not planned. I'm going to make it quick, but like really, I'm literally just like a mom that's very worried about my kids, specifically my son. Like this is not, it's like a pressure cooker for him. Like it's not going to end well, and I can see that, and I'm worried, and I just kind of feel like they've also like broken my daughter. Like she's such a little, researcher, and like she just had her own really great beliefs on all of this, and she just was like, Mom, I don't believe the masks are working, blah, blah. But like now when she comes to the car after school, it's like fully on her. She doesn't even notice it. And I'm just like, hey, Sid, where's all the COVID in the car? And she's like, oh, sorry, I forgot. It's like she's been broken, like well done. And it's just very upsetting. And I'm done. Like what happens when like the carrot's been dangling over us? Like, Newsom's going to make a new mandate. He's going to drop the mandate. But like, what if he doesn't? Like, if he doesn't, like, I don't foresee me continuing. Like Mom, like can we just be done? Like school year's done. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker, I have two speakers. The next one is Janet Roberson.
Just to follow up and clarify some things at Mary Farmer, as soon as the kids get inside the gate, you see them. They're like outside the school property and on the sidewalk as they're walking in. They all put their masks on. The teacher's standing there with their masks on outside, watching all the kids go in with their masks on. They're told, you're not a good neighbor. You're a good neighbor if you wear a mask, but if you don't wear your mask, you're a bad neighbor. You're going to kill someone. This is something that we've now taught them for 2 years. The energy that is spent putting masks on all day and pull your mask up and it's not covering your nose is ridiculous. Let's focus that energy on actually teaching our kids. My boy who's in 2nd grade, who's never had a normal day of school, loves to sing. He gets music class, I think, once a week at Mary Farmer. He looks forward to that day. It's his favorite day. He came home devastated a couple of weeks ago because he was sent out of his music class because he was actually singing. And he was in tears. He's like, Mommy, I actually sing. Because not all the kids sing. You know how it is. You're in music class. Only the kids that really love it. He's singing, and as he's singing, like right now, I'm talking to you, my mask is falling. He was sent to the office and missed his favorite class because of that. All three of my kids, Brooke, too, in the middle school, my daughter who's 10, who loves her mask and never wants to take it off. I think we're really creating terrible consequences. So I understand your concern about the financial and legal implications if you were to tonight make a motion and decide, you know what, we're going to drop masks for Benicia. How about, like it's been suggested, that you just don't discipline it? So that way you're covered. You just say, look, as a school district, this is no longer going to be part of our discipline. So if a kid doesn't have their mask on, we're just not going to enforce any discipline. I think that might be a happy medium for the moment. I'd like to see you have the courage to actually pass a mandate to, or pass a motion to not even have the masks. But at the very least, you could then make it just not something that would be disciplined. I'd appreciate that very much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, our last speaker is Nicole Lasko-Opperman.
Hi. Yes, so I'm going to speak on the end of what she just said. So I think that it sounds like you didn't really have a plan, or we don't have a plan, right, to move forward. You're going to wait for the governor, and that's your prerogative. But I think something you could do right now is we can email all the principals. They need to tell all the teachers that there is no more disciplining, right? You can say, hey, where's your mask? Oh, I'm not wearing a mask. Would you like a mask? No, I don't want a mask. Okay. And that's it. And if we leave it at that, I bet you there's still only going to be a small percentage of children in the beginning that are going to do that. And so it's not going to be this massive uproar in the beginning. It's going to be the people who are listening to this, right? The people who are really, really struggling, the kids that have autism or have ADHD problems. Those would be the kids that are going to take off the masks first, right? And I know some teachers are going to struggle with this, and I get that. And I do understand the fear. I do. And it's going to be hard and some kids just might still wear it because everybody else is wearing it. But you guys can tonight at least say, we're doing no more restrictions, no more discipline. All the principals need to know that there's no more discipline if a mask is not to be worn. If a student is saying, no, I don't want to wear this mask, you can make that decision tonight. And I hope that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a lot of food for thought, right? I don't know if we can do anything and make that decision tonight, because as what I'm hearing is that if a student, I understand the discipline part, and I think we're going to get answers based on that. But I am concerned with I don't want to lose my train of thought here. If we drop discipline being able to happen while a child is in their classroom, and if a student chooses not to want a mask when the teacher asks them, then we're not following what we're supposed to. We're not following the mandate. There's a couple ways I guess we could look at it, but that would not equate well.
Well, I think that, like I said, this is my 20th year in the classroom, and if you have mixed messages with kids, like people are saying that, they're hearing one thing from like we're telling them one thing, and then the teachers are doing something else. That doesn't work, because if you're not unified in your messaging, it just confuses kids and you lose everybody. But on the flip side, you can't put out something saying, oh, don't discipline anybody. I mean, because then you're not doing the mandate. What you do is you do what I do every day. I could tell you, I have 200 kids a day. I have not sent one kid up for not wearing their mask. I will remind them 40 times a period if I have to. Now, granted, I'm out in PE, so it's easier for me because I'm not in an enclosed space where I could be more worried. But I think that most teachers, like I said, I'd love to see the numbers of kids that have been disciplined for that. I think it's got to be minuscule. Because, I think that because you guys have had I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to speak to people. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that I'm supposed to follow the rules. But all I'm saying is that I think that most most teachers do the same thing where you constantly remind. Now, if a kid, like I said, if a kid was just defiant, I'm not wearing a mask, I think masks are stupid, then yeah, they're going to be out of the class before they get the word stupid out. Because I'm not having that I'm not dealing with direct defiance. But I have no issue reminding the kid 25, 30 times a period to pull up their mask, because that's just, if I got to do it, I'm not going to send them out, but so I don't think that we could do that part. I think that it would come down to either getting rid of the mask mandate or leaving things and waiting for the governor, which I think legally is the smartest maneuver for us. And that's it.
Oh, go ahead.
I have a question, Dr. Young. So say, I know that whatever decisions are going to be made on the 28th, I don't know what those will be. And I think somebody had asked that clarifying question, like, just in terms of like a waiting period, are we going to have another board meeting and then, have to do a vote and all that if decisions are made on the 28th, say the masks are gone or done away with, do we have to have another board meeting, or can that just be immediately effective?
It can be immediately implemented. So one of the, back to the discipline, we were just reminding ourselves of all the work that we've done around this. Is something that we have called a memorandum of understanding, and we put those together with our employee bargaining groups, and we've had great success doing that quickly and in a partnership with them. And that the discipline piece, and we certainly don't want to do it in a way that's draconian or overdone or but that was part of the memorandum of understanding that we put in place. It was based on Ed Code, regarding willful violation of COVID safety guidelines. It was an attempt to ensure the compliance with the guidelines from the state. So just a reminder on that. So with the MOUs, we were not really required to bring those back for board approval. That hasn't always been our practice.
On Monday that they're going to drop them. I mean, we don't know what he's going to say, but hypothetically, if he says we're going to drop the mask mandate beginning March 1st, that gives us a couple days, but a day, because there's only 28 days in February. But can we just do it that day? Can we have the principal at each school put out an all call and just say, kids, it's okay, you can release your masks and all's good in the world?
Well, what we would do, my thought is we'd get the direction from the governor, and if it says, he makes his decision in concert with CDPH, I don't know where OSHA is going to be. And then what we've done is we've followed CDPH. Both bargaining units understand that, and we would be able to implement it quickly. So I don't know what time the governor is going to speak on Monday. I mean, sometimes he does it at noon, sometimes he does it at 1. So, when he makes that announcement, we'll get on it quickly and interpret what it means and what it means for Benicia, and move forward as quickly as possible. If it's possible, yeah, we wouldn't want to delay it. We'd want to move along very quickly. And no system is perfect, but I do want to just point out the fact that I think that we've moved pretty quickly in the past with our bargaining teams, and we've gotten right at it. And I know we have, and especially when you compare it to other school districts, we had some good success there. So I have confidence that we would be able to move it along quickly.
I'd also like to put a challenge to us as well, though. And, we've had many people asking us, we've all had children that have gone to school. I have 5 grandchildren currently in the public school system. So I am getting some firsthand reaction. And I've seen a range of, I don't care, to, I can't take off my mask, to I now have a 2-year-old who's been labeled a COVID baby because they're having speech problems. And it's because of masks. So I'm seeing quite a gambit myself personally. But what I would like us to move to is I get there's a mandate. CDC's coming out tomorrow, so it's going to be a whole different conversation because they're dropping them. That we say by March 1st, our choices are optional. That gets us around the money, it gets us around all the legal pieces, I believe, by going optional. And if we could drop them completely because the governor decides hooray, then we drop them completely. Right now, the kids in Benicia are the only ones carrying the brunt of this disease, which Dr. Mateos has said is not a kid's disease. And I quote him from the board meeting the other night. It is time, the time has come for the Benicia Public Schools to say, we're going to push back and we're going to challenge. The city doesn't have it, the county doesn't have it. Again, it's our community. And they're saying that's the most important thing we should be looking at. Our community is open. We should be looking to make this an option, at least by the 1st of March. I'm not asking for tomorrow. I'm asking by the 1st of March. That also gets us past the governor.
I'm just curious, Diane, how it gets us past the government. Our actions have been tied to the governor and the CDPH, not the CDC. So I'm just curious as to how if the CDC drops it, that's suddenly going to get us around the rest of it. I don't mean it in a bad way.
No.
I'm trying to follow the logic here. I mean, we've aligned ourselves
Well,
to the
I'm saying the
CDPH.
CDC because the CDC is federal and we're state, and federal law supersedes federal law. It's
Federal
state law.
law, so it supersedes, does it?
Yes, federal
Charles?
law is higher than state law.
Would
Yes.
the CDC dropping it affect the CDPH and what the governor's doing? Because from what it seems like, every state's had its own room to do what they want. I mean, you've had states that haven't had any rules in effect at all through this entire.
I think my understanding is that the CDPH takes guidance from the CDC, but then they make their legal mandates for that state, and that's what we've done here. We've followed the CDPH, and I think most of the time they followed CDC, but I don't know if they've always followed it exactly.
Well, they don't. We've made it much stricter.
The
is what we've
likelihood,
done.
you're saying the likelihood would be if the CDC takes action tomorrow, that the CDPH would probably, at least
I don't know.
past history. I'm not saying for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to bet
No.
the house on anything. But I'm just saying that since we've aligned ourselves with the CDPH and the governor, it'd be great if the governor and the CDPH followed suit, but we haven't followed the directive of the we followed our state's directive. Just like Texas has followed their state's directive, and Florida, I don't know if they followed any directive, but you get what I'm saying? So, that for me, I don't, just because the CDC, I'm expecting the governor to drop it on Monday. I really think he's going to do it. And then, this is all moot. But
So then that motion shouldn't be threatened.
no, it is because if they don't, I'm not going to align our actions based on the CDC. I'm going to align our actions based on I'm just one dude. For me personally, I'm going to vote to align our actions with the CDPH and the governor, not with the CDC, because we have not been aligning with the CDC.
Right.
We've been aligning with the CDPH and the governor. So I'm going to stick with I want to stick with consistency. That's who we've been going with. So, I think it's going to work out. I think we're having it, but I'm not going to just do that because I want to see what happens on Monday. And
I have 2 additional speakers that want to speak, and these are going to be the last 2. There will be no additional speakers. I just want to give you the opportunity. Nicole, is it Lynette? Lynette.
You didn't speak before.
Hi. So I wasn't planning on speaking, but after hearing everything, this is actually the only board meeting I've been to. And it's such, it's a important, and so I wanted to make sure that I showed up. It's a little disheartening. I'm pretty disappointed, to be honest. It seems like you guys are more concerned about the legal ramifications than the well-being of our children. And that obviously doesn't sit right. It seems like the students are being ignored. It seems like the parents are being ignored. And it seems like there's what we should work for is a way, if you're worried about the legal aspect of what's going on with the mandates, and hopefully they are lifted soon. But if that's the main concern or the only hurdle behind being able to lift them, to me, that's not listening to your community, because we should be able to have a voice. That's what everyone's showing up here for. And if that's the only problem with it, I mean, you have listened to so many different negative aspects of wearing the masks for our children. And if it's just the legal ramifications, think about the ramifications of the well-being of our kids in the next couple of years that you're going to find out later on. And even just now, the everything that's been listed here tonight, you know, I have a kid that's in kindergarten, TK last year, didn't even go to school. So he's only been in school with a mask. That it's not a productive thing to do for his age, for any of their ages really. But my point is that I think you should be more worried about our kids' future and what's happening to them now, because I can tell you it's going to be a lot worse than legal ramifications if these mask mandates stay in place. It's not going to be good. And I think every single, with the exception of Diane, thank you, but I think the majority of you are forgetting that because you're so concerned about following the rules and you're losing sight of thinking critically about it. I just really hope that you guys can open your ears to everything that's being said tonight. Thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you. And our final speaker tonight is Amber Clemens.
Hi again. Okay. Thanks again for letting me speak again. Obviously, like I said, there's obviously so much passion on both sides. So I appreciate you letting us speak again. I find it very interesting, and Mr. Maselli, I know that you're a PE teacher. I find, like, I'm not a teacher, but I know I'm a mom of 4 children, and I can't imagine having to tell my children within an hour period 30-something times to pull up their mask. I would feel like that would be taking away from my parenting or my teaching of whatever I'm trying to do. So it concerns me that as a teacher, you're okay with taking time out of your job to tell them to continue to put a mask on. And I'm also concerned because knowing you're a PE teacher, and thank you for being a teacher and for caring about their physical education, but your physical education that you take upon yourself in the gym, you don't wear a mask. And that's great. I don't wear a mask either when I work out. But you're teaching PE mostly outside, and you're having to tell kids to put on their mask outside. And I get that you're not in our district, and I don't know what the policies are in yours. However, it's like mind-boggling to me. The other thing is that I didn't get to say earlier, I'm prepared, my family's prepared, and there's a whole other army of parents prepared that are not here and that are not saying anything to you guys to pull their children like that with these mandates. I'm not trying to threaten anything. We're all human beings. We can all be friends outside of this. We can be friends in here. I don't understand how you can sit up here and talk numbers about what the rest of the state is doing. My child is not a number. My child, their children, the children whose parents couldn't be here to speak tonight, they're just not a number in the game. I don't care what the rest of the state is doing. Why can't Benicia take a stance? Why can't our small little town that everybody wants to come and be a part of, why can't we show up? Why can't we be on that list? Why can't we stand up for our kids? I don't understand, like, what is it going to take? Screw the numbers. Our kids and their education is what really, really matters here, and they are our future of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to just thank you for having a conversation that was well thought out and there was no arguing and anything like that. I really I appreciate the fact that you are here, and I know you're frustrated, and I just want to thank you for that, for having civil conversation. So thank you. Back to my board members. not my board members, our board. Sorry.
Okay, we're your board.
Sorry. Where do you want to go from here?
Well, I made a motion. I would absolutely repeat the motion. I made a motion that we move the masks mandates to an optional mask as of March 1st in Benicia Unified School District.
Do I have a second? Hearing none, the motion dies. Is there anything else that anybody else would like to say? No? Okay, then we are at the end of our meeting. It is now 7:45, and I am going to close our meeting. Our next meeting is March 3rd at 7 p.m. Thank you very much.